A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Five bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention, all districts. A 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's roll. Let's go. Firefighters.
Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In just a minute, we'll meet Tim Collins on his way home from duty after a day that has seen Chief Cody set the forces of law and order on the trail of a salesman who is distributing substandard electrical equipment to innocent buyers. But before we join the search, there's time for this message. Let's go, firefighters. Let's go to the quiet neighborhood where Tim Collins lives. As you remember, Tim has finished his tour of duty with Engine Company 209, and just a moment ago, as he turned the corner of his own street, a woman's voice hailed him. The voice of Miss Andy Layton, old friend of his mother's, who said,
Tim, oh, please do thank your mother for me. It was so thoughtful of her, sending that salesman to me.
The salesman, Miss Layton? What for?
They showed me this wonderful bargain. See, these electrical cords for my flat iron.
Oh, good grief.
Your mother took 3, he said, and it was such a bargain, she asked him to come and see me, and I bought 2 for myself.
Miss Layton, you haven't tried to use these cords, have you?
Oh, not yet. I was on my way to work when he stopped me this morning, and I've had them at the office all day.
Oh, what did he look like? The salesman, I mean.
Why, like anybody else, I suppose. What difference does it...
Miss Layton, please try to remember, was he tall, short?
Why, I suppose he was about as tall as you are, Tim.
He was?
Well, as tall as your shoulders, anyway. You shot up so, Tim, since you were just...
Yes, sir. And his face, was he clean-shaven?
Why, yes, he was, except for a little mustache. But, Tim, I don't know why you were asking me all these...
Please, Miss Layton, any other marks? I mean, things you noticed about the fellow that sold you these cords?
No, nothing at all, except the gold, too.
That's the man. Miss Layton, you mustn't use these electrical cords.
Why, Timothy, you're not telling me what I mustn't do.
I don't mean it that way, Miss Layton. I mean, well, those cords are dangerous.
Nonsense. They're every bit as good as the cords you buy in the stores. And they're a wonderful bargain.
But look at them. Flimsy, poorly made. And where's the tag? See, there's no tag, no sign that they've been approved for use.
Oh, fiddle-dee-dee. Here's my rooming house.
But, Miss Layton, those cords aren't safe to use. You could start a fire.
Timothy, you mustn't talk such nonsense to a person old enough to be your mother. Now, you run along home. Good night.
Miss Layton, wait.
Good night, Tim.
Miss Layton. Oh, good grief. Oh, I wonder if Mom can talk her out of using those cheap cords. Yes. Mom brought... Yeah, she bought 3 of them, she says. Now my own house is in danger.
Tim, suddenly realizing that his own mother may at this moment be using one of the defective electrical cords that have started a series of small fires wherever they've been used, breaks into a run toward his home. His mother, contentedly preparing the evening meal in her own kitchen, is startled as the back door crashes open.
Mom, anything happened yet?
Glory be, you made me drop my spoon into the kettle.
Gee, Mom, I'm sorry. Here, let me fish it out.
Tim, don't you dare put your fingers into my stew.
Sorry. I just thought I could pick it out before it sinks. Oh.
Serves you right. Now go put something on your fingers before they blister. Don't you ever come crashing into my kitchen like that again. Hand me that other spoon from the drawer.
Yes. Here you are, Mom. I guess I got excited.
You certainly did. Don't suppose you could tell me just what's the trouble with you tonight, young man?
Well, it's those electrical cords, Mom. They're dangerous. You mustn't use them.
All right, I promise. Though, of course, I still don't know what you're talking about.
Why, those cords for the toaster and flat iron and things. The ones you bought from that salesman this morning.
What cords? What salesman? Let me feel your forehead, Tim.
Mom, I don't have any fever. I'm just saying... You did buy some electrical cords from a salesman, didn't you? Miss Layton said you did.
Andy Layton?
Uh-huh.
Whatever gave her such a notion? When I buy cords, I get them from somebody I can trust. And I make sure they have a tag on them to show they're safe to use.
But the salesman...
But your father taught me that years ago, Tim. Well, you could burn the house down with an electrical cord that isn't up to standard.
But that salesman, Mom, he told Miss Layton you sent him to her.
I? Why, he must have been making that up out of whole cloth.
Oh, that's it, he did. He told her that cock and bull story to get her to buy some cords for her flat iron. Oh, good grief, Mom, will you talk to her? I tried to tell her, but she wouldn't listen.
Well, I don't blame her if you jumbled it all together like this. What do you want me to tell Miss Andy Layton?
That the whole city is trying to trace that salesman because those inferior cords he sells are so bad they start fires wherever people use them.
Oh, as bad as that, Tim.
It's pretty bad, Mom. And if she uses that flat iron of hers with one of those cords, well, that rooming house she lives in isn't any too fire resistant.
Tim, I'm going over there and talk some sense into Miss Layton.
Oh, Mom, that's wonderful.
And I'm going right now. You watch my stew.
You bet, Mom. And I'll phone Chief Cody, too.
I'll be back in a jiffy. Tell Jimmy and Trudy to set the table. I won't even wait to fix my hair.
Come on. Hello? Hello, Glover? Is Chief Cody still at headquarters? Fine, let me talk to him. Huh? This is Private Collins, Company 209. Okay, I'll hold the line. Chief Cody? Yes, sir, this is Collins. Yes, sir, I've got a line on that salesman you're looking for. Yes, sir, I know it's the one. A neighbor of ours bought some of those electrical cords from him this morning. Her description fits right down to a T. Huh? You want to talk to her? Yes, sir, we'll expect you. I'll take you to meet her. Oh, come in, Chief. I was waiting for you.
Right, Collins. Well, let's not waste any time. That woman must be warned not to use that stuff she bought.
Oh, it's all right, sir. Mom went over there to do just that only a moment before I phoned you to report.
Good. Now, then, if you'll take me over there, I'd like to question her. Make sure she can identify that rascal who's selling these things.
Yes, sir. There's just one thing. Well, if you could wait a few minutes, long as Mom has warned her anyway.
What? Wait a few minutes, Collins. Well, what for?
Well, sir, Mom told me to... Well, you see, sir, when I came in, she was in the kitchen and...
Oh, so you're doing relief duty as cook, is that it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mom's orders were to watch the stew.
Well, then, all you can do is obey your commanding officer, my boy, until relief.
Yes, sir. Won't you wait inside until my relief comes?
Don't mind if I do, Collins. Unless... Uh-oh, here's your relief coming now.
Mom?
Yes, coming full speed up the street. Good evening, Mrs. Collins.
Oh, Bob Cody, I'm so glad you're here.
Did you warn Miss Layton, Mom?
Well, I couldn't catch her, Tim. She wasn't there.
What? Oh, I don't like that.
Oh, you mean she'd gone out by the time you got there?
Gone out for the evening. Nobody knows where. I asked the landlady to be sure to tell Andy not to take any chances.
Yeah, but who knows if she'll get the message in time or pay any attention to it if she does. Well, I guess that's all we can do for tonight.
Oh, good grief. Doesn't that salesman realize what damage he's doing?
Yes, well, he'll realize it all right when I get near enough to talk to him.
So the attempt to protect Miss Andy Layton from her own carelessness in buying substandard electrical cord for use in her rented room comes to a standstill, at least for the night. And early the next morning, soon after Tim reports for duty with Engine 209...
Stand by! .132! Temple and Cedar! First due!
Oh, good grief. Temple and Cedar. That's my own street corner.
All clear back there!
All clear. Come on, step on it, Gonigal. Give me a lift home. Let's go.
Maybe you've guessed what Tim is going to learn when Engine 209 reaches the fire alarm box at Temple and Cedar, the corner across the street from Miss Andy Layton's boarding house. Chief Cody has guessed it already and is on his way to the fire scene. You'll join him there when you listen to our next true-to-life episode of The Firefighters. In just a moment, Chief Bob Cody will tell you, boys and girls, how you can help the firefighters in your own town. But first, here's a message you ought to hear. And now Chief Bob Cody with a special notice for the Firefighters Brigade. Chief Cody.
Hello, boys and girls. This is your friend, Chief Cody. And today I'd like to review our brigade list of common fire causes. I'll get that notebook of yours out, and let's check against my master copy right here. First, we listed matches and smoking. Second, poor housekeeping, which means don't let those papers and rubbish pile up. Then came storage, and every rookie firefighter knows that work clothes or rags should be stored in closed containers. Fourth on our list is cleaning cloths, which we tag dangerous, unless they too are stored away in tight containers. Fifth, we listed oily material, things like lint, sawdust, and cotton waste, which Safety First tells us to get rid of because they catch fire mighty easily. Sixth on our brigade list is packing material. So next to that, let's write, store all packing materials in airtight containers. Now for number 7, sparks. And for sparks, our slogan is, be alert. Be watchful of dangerous sparks. And now, here's a new one for your brigade list. Machinery. Yes, sir. Overheated or worn-out machinery is a fire hazard, too. So let's remember to keep a watchful eye on machines of all kinds. Well, that brings our list up to date. So don't forget to study it, and I'll be talking to you again soon. Goodbye for now.
Fire Chief Cody and the young rookie fireman Tim Collins will be back on the same station the next time you hear... That's it. Let's roll! Let's go! Firefighters!
Pepsi-Cola, C-E-P-S-I. That's your smartest cola buy. Pepsi-Cola presents Counterspy.
Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy. Washington calling David Harding, Counterspy.
Harding, Counterspy, calling Washington. United States Counterspy, especially appointed to investigate and combat the enemies of our country, both at home and abroad. Tonight, more facts in the case of the fabulous formula. A thrilling Counterspy report to the American people. Brought to you each Tuesday and Thursday by delicious Pepsi-Cola. And now, another report to the American people. In your family's interest, listen to these findings, recently released by the United States Testing Company, Incorporated. After thorough and impartial tests, Pepsi-Cola proved of highest purity. Pepsi-Cola has more quick food energy and value, ounce for ounce, than any other leading nationally known cola. Yes, tested, compared against all other leading nationally known cola drinks, Pepsi-Cola won out. You get the best and twice as much in delicious Pepsi-Cola. And now to Counterspy. To all Counterspy field officers, Territorial United States, this is David Harding at headquarters, Washington. Vivian Lawrence, notorious espionage agent, is still at large. She is known to have in her possession the secret formula for artificial mica. Her last known whereabouts, Crystal Railroad crossing 65 miles south of Philadelphia, where she eluded capture by faking an auto accident. For the sake of our national safety, Vivian Lawrence must be apprehended.
How dare you burst into my compartment this way? What's the meaning
minute here. Sorry to disturb you, madam. May I see your identification?
My identification? I declare, you've got no
We have
right.
direct orders from Mr. Harding to investigate all female passengers on this train.
Mr. Harding?
Yes. I'm a United States counterspy.
Oh, Counterspy. Well, now, let me see what I have in my handbag.
If you don't mind, I'd like to look in that bag myself.
Well, I do declare. You act like you don't trust me.
The bag, please.
Oh, very well.
Thank you. I think this driver's license will do. Mrs. Wilma Gordon, 6932 Northwest Peachtree Street, Atlanta, Georgia. And according to your ticket here, you're going to Atlanta. You're traveling alone, Mrs. Gordon?
Yes. And now, if you'll be good enough to tell me why you violated my privacy.
Your government is searching for Vivian Lawrence, an espionage agent. Miss Lawrence is clever at using disguises and assorted accents.
Accents? Well, I do declare. You think I'm that horrible woman? I really do declare. Such stupidity in our government. My senators will hear about this just as
I
soon
didn't
as
say you were Vivian Lawrence. I know you're not.
Huh?
You see, Mrs. Gordon, I'm Vivian Lawrence.
What?
As I said, Vivian Lawrence is capable of many disguises and accents.
But why did you come here? What do you want with me?
I need a compartment and a ticket, a means of escape. Mrs. Gordon, you and I are very similar in looks. I've decided we're going to change places. Come with me.
I'll do no such thing. I'm going to call a porter and have you turned over to the police.
I'm sure this will change your mind.
A gun?
Shall we go, Mrs. Gordon? If we meet anyone in the corridor here, you will laugh and talk as if we were old friends. Do you understand?
Yes.
The porter's coming. You better do exactly as I told you.
That was a hilarious letter from Charles, wasn't it?
Laugh as though you meant it. All right, you can stop now.
Please let me go. I won't say anything. I promise.
Open the door. We're going out on the platform. All right. Stand here near the outside door.
What are you going to do?
This first. Now, you can have your handbag back. Take it. All right, now, Mrs. Gordon, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You're making a non-scheduled stop.
You're going to make me get off this train?
The way the counterspies will see it, Vivian Lawrence, in an attempt to escape, jumped off this train.
No! No! Please don't do this to me!
Try, Mrs. Gordon.
I say no! I said no!
A couple of bottles of Pepsi-Cola, Mr. Harding.
Oh, thank you, Peters. I need it.
Dave, you've been here in communications all night. A little shut-eye wouldn't do you any harm.
Guess you taste mighty good, Peters.
You weren't even listening to me.
Oh, there's no sleep in me, Ray. I'm standing by till we hear something on Vivian Lawrence.
What gets me, Dave, is where could that dame have disappeared to after she faked that auto accident at the railroad crossing?
Oh, Mr. Harding.
Yes?
Agent Braden's on the wire from Bay City with an urgent call. I've switched it to your desk here.
All right, Miss Evans, thank you. Harding, go ahead, Braden.
I just got a call in the field office here from the local police, Mr. Harding. A woman answering Vivian Lawrence's description was found alongside the railroad tracks 20 miles south of here. She must have jumped from a train. The body's pretty much banged up.
Peters and I'll be right down there by plane. Braden, are they sure it's Vivian Lawrence?
Oh, you don't have to worry about that, Mr. Harding. They found a handbag nearby with papers in it. The papers are labeled Formula for Artificial Mica.
Come and get it, Pop. young fella.
There's a fat bag of mail for you this trip, Bob.
Thank you, son.
Mighty lot of postcard reading in that bag for you.
I gave up reading folks' postcards years ago, son. Nothing new took place here in Gangbusters since the flood of 28.
Since the flood of 28, huh?
I'll see you tomorrow, Bob. Take it easy. I reckon I will. I have nothing else to do with my age but take it easy.
Don't turn around. There's a gun on your back. Keep pushing that baggage truck or I'll fire right here.
I ain't playing and dying just yet.
Keep walking straight ahead to the station office.
Believe me, lady, you didn't stake out a likely place for a holdup. Not much here in Galesport in the way of pickings.
I think you're mistaken. I think Galesport has everything I want. Just about everything.
Pull back the blanket, Wilson. Well, Mr. Harding, here's the body just as the local police found it.
Mm-hmm. From the looks of it, Braden, I'd say she jumped from the train when it was going at pretty high speed.
You satisfied, Chief, that it's Vivian Lawrence? Those formula papers we found in her handbag should be the clincher.
They certainly should, Braden.
Mr. Harding.
What'd you find out, Peter?
I made the check with Washington by wire photo, Chief.
And?
We compared the handwriting on the formula with that of its murdered inventor. They're not the same.
What?
It's a trick.
And I'm sure now that this corpse here is another one of Vivian Lawrence's tricks to keep us second-guessing. Braden, did you make a check on the trains passing this point?
Yes, sir. It's obvious that the woman was on a southbound train.
Yeah, that's right. Well, what about the trains?
The local medical examiner determined the time of death at 11 p.m. Now, the only southbound train that passed this point between 10 and midnight was the Flyer, due to arrive in Atlanta at 6 this morning.
6? That's less than an hour from now.
Yeah. Peters, get back to the car. Have a call radio relay to Craig in Atlanta. I want all passengers held on that train when it arrives there. No one allowed off until our agents have gone through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Right, sir.
Now, Braden, what other stops does the Flyer make between here and Atlanta?
Just a 1-minute mail stop at a small town called Galesport.
Galesport. All right, Braden, get in touch with the station master there. Warning, just in case.
Inside, quicker.
Lady, if you're figuring I keep any money here in the Galesport station office, you're mighty mistaken.
I want only 2 things from you. The key to your car and information about the Olympian Carnival.
Now, I reckon that ain't much, considering the trouble you're going through. The key to my flivver's right here in the telegraph desk.
Now, about the Olympian Carnival. I hear it's scheduled to open near here tomorrow night.
That's right. The ballpark between here and Ferndale, out on the turnpike. Telegraph message coming in this time of the night.
I want to know what that message is.
Okay, lady. Attention, station master. Counterspy warn you. Be on alert for Vivian Lawrence. Espionage agent at large.
Keep on.
Possibility she may have gotten off flyer at your stop. Report any information immediately to Bay City Counterspy Field Office. And that's all, Miss Lawrence. So, you're that dirty spy the government's looking for, eh? I read all about you in the
down. And don't try any tricks. I happen to know the Morse code. Get at that telegraph key. You're sending an answer to that message. Sit down.
Woman, if you didn't have that gun, young lady, I'd beat the feathers and tarnation out of you.
But I do have the gun. And you'll telegraph exactly what I tell you. Now begin. Woman answering description of Vivian Lawrence appeared at station right after Flyer made mail stop.
Woman answering description of Vivian Lawrence appeared at station right after flyer made mail stop.
She asked for information on trains going north to New York.
She asked about trains going north to New York. Now, what's that supposed to mean?
Keep tapping that key. She seemed desperate.
She seemed desperate. Well, that all?
That's all. Except for this.
What is it, Peter? The station master here in Bay City just called. A few minutes ago, we got a telegraph message from the Galesport station master saying that Vivian Lawrence was there. She asked about trains going back towards New York, but a funny thing happened. What do you mean? Right after the first message from Galesport came in, a second followed. It said, disregard previous message. Find Vivian Lawrence at... Then it stopped with the letters O-L-Y-M-P.
O-L-Y-M-P?
Yes. They've been trying to contact the Galesport station, Dave, but so far no answer. I told them to keep trying.
Well, come on, Peters. We're not going to wait. We'll get our answer direct at the Galesport station.
Well, Dave, there's our answer.
Shot in the back twice. Peters, it must have taken superhuman courage for him to prop himself against the telegraph desk and tap out that second message.
Well, anyway, at least we know now that she forced the old man to send the first message. We know now it was another trick to sidetrack us.
Find Vivian Lawrence at Olymp.
He had only just enough time to finish the message.
Well, Peters, we're going to finish that message for him. Contact Central Analysis in Washington. I want the name of every city, town, and hamlet in this country whose name begins with the letters O-L-Y-M-P. Have them radio the list that was here immediately.
Gentlemen, the Olympian Carnival Science Show presents Hakim and the Cobra. Notice, friends, how this most vicious, this most venomous of all reptiles, the deadly cobra, rises from his basket and weaves and dances to the weird strains of Hakim's flute. If Hakim was to stop playing before the snake winds down into his basket and the lid is closed, this cobra would strike, injecting the unfortunate victim with the most fatal of all poisons. Now see how the serpent obeys his musical master, friend, winding himself down into his basket. And now the cobra is safely under cover. Don't go away, friends. Hakim has for sale a valuable good luck cobra ring made by the natives of northern India.
My good luck cobra ring, ladies and gentlemen. It is only 25 cents. It is sure to give you a lifetime of good fortune and happiness.
I'll have one of those rings, please.
Here you are, madame.
Hakim, meet me at the Ferris wheel in 10 minutes.
I thought it was you, Vivian, but your disguise, it almost fooled me. How did you get here? What are you doing?
Never mind the questions. The Ferris wheel in 10 minutes.
In a moment, back to Counterspy, presented by delicious Pepsi-Cola. Have you heard about those tests by that famous laboratory? Have you heard the latest news in the Pepsi-Cola story?
Yes, there's big news about Pepsi. The cola you've always known was most delicious. The cola you've always known was best value is now shown to be the cola of proven highest quality. That's right. The U.S. Testing Company Incorporated reports you get more quick food energy ounce for ounce in delicious Pepsi-Cola than any other nationally known leading cola drink.
Yes, your Pepsi is really top. Tastes the top, is the top, and gives the most. So go ahead, enjoy that extra zing and bounce delicious Pepsi gives you. Insist on it wherever you may be. When you stop at the fountain, make sure you say, Pepsi, please. When you stop at a stand, make sure you say, Pepsi, please. And at the store, get Pepsi in the money-saving carton of 6 big 12-ounce bottles. Pepsi's 6 bottles serve 12 refreshing glassfuls, twice as much. So save money and get the best. Come on, sing the Pepsi song with us.
Pepsi-Cola is the spot. 2 full glasses, that's a lot. Twice as much and better too. Pepsi-Cola is the drink for you. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola.
And now, back to Counterspy.
I've already bought the tickets to the Ferris wheel, Hakeem. Let's get in. As it tests me. Just now, it's the safest place for you and me to talk.
Why did you come here, Vivian?
Naturally, you read about me in the papers.
You saw the form here for artificial mica.
And I've read about you in the papers, Hakeem.
Me? I haven't done anything.
I happened to pick up a paper on the train which advertised that the Olympian Carnival was playing this district. I saw your name as one of the stellar attractions, so naturally, for old time's sake, I thought...
Vivian, I cannot hurt you. I'm through with all that.
Now, really, Hakeem?
I am Vivian. I've changed. America has been good to me.
Hakeem, you're not making sense.
Since I've changed my ways in the past 10 years, I've found out what sense really is, Vivian.
Money is the only thing that makes sense.
No, Vivian. See all those people down there. Peace of mind and a feeling of trust and belonging to a great and good country like theirs is more than even money can buy.
Oh, that's a good one. You in that cheap tent show talking that way, taking suckers for measly quarter rings.
If you believe that a ring will bring luck, then perhaps it may.
This foolish talk is just a waste of valuable time. I'll be brief and to the point, Hakeem. I need a place to hide out temporarily.
I'm sorry, Vivian, I cannot...
A traveling carnival would be the last place the counterspies would look for me.
Vivian, it's no use.
No?
I'm sorry.
You said that before. It still makes no impression on me. But I'm sure this gun makes quite an impression on you.
Vivian.
I would say it's about a 50-foot drop from here to the ground.
You wouldn't do that?
Why not? Killing is nothing to me, Hakeem. If you don't hide me there, if you don't do exactly as I ask, I assure you those rings of yours will bring you nothing but the very worst of luck.
Braden in Bay City field office to David Harding, control car C7, Galesport. Braden to Harding.
This is Peters, Braden. Mr. Harding just went into a diner across the street to grab a bite. Anything special?
No, Peters. Just reporting to the chief that his instructions have been carried out. The special alert has been sent to all cities, towns, and villages whose names begin with the letters OLYMP.
Okay, I'll tell him.
We're standing by here to relay anything to Mr. Harding as soon as it comes in.
Check, Braden.
Get it started, Peter.
Dave, I thought you were so hungry.
I had a sudden change of appetite. Head straight out this street. You hit the turnpike.
What's this all about?
Vivian Lawrence, maybe.
What?
I happened to pick up the local paper back at the diner. In it, I saw an item announcing the opening tonight of a carnival on the turnpike between here and Ferndale.
A carnival?
The Olympian Carnival.
Olympian? OLYMP. Could be, Chief.
It very well could, Peters. Open her up wide.
Hakeem, do you have to keep that basket in this tent?
Why, Vivian? You don't have to be afraid of my cobra as long as he is in his basket.
Snakes disgust me.
Well, he won't bother you for a while.
Just a moment.
Yes?
Where do you think you're going?
It's time for my next performance.
You're sure about that?
You don't trust me?
What do you think?
But, Vivian, you cannot afford to keep me here under watch. If I don't appear at the show tent, they'll come here to see what is wrong.
I know that. But just remember, Hakeem, I expect you to go directly to the show tent and return here without any stop. Is that understood?
Understood, Vivian.
Midway, Dave. No sign of Vivian Lawrence.
I've had no luck either, Peter. But we're not leaving these carnival grounds and...
What is it, Chief?
Look over there, the sideshow tent. That man walking toward the entrance with the wicker basket in his hand.
Holy smoke, Dave. Hakim.
Yes, our old friend Hakim, the snake charmer.
Wasn't he once tied up with Vivian Lawrence?
Yes, back in 1938. But according to our checkups, he's supposed to have changed his way of living.
Could be he's changing back again to his old way.
That's always possible, but I was almost sure Hakim was sticking to the straight and narrow.
Hey, better duck behind the stand here. I think he's seen us.
Right.
Maybe I was mistaken. He's walking into the sideshow tent.
All right, Peters, we can get started now.
What are we going to do, Dave?
Find out if Hakim has really changed his ways again.
What took you so long, Hakim?
Vivian, you've got to get away from here.
I told you I'm staying.
But he's here at the carnival.
Me? Who are you talking about?
David Harding.
What?
I saw him as I entered the sideshow tent. I didn't want to arouse suspicion, so I went through with my performance.
Put that snake basket down, Hakim. Put it down.
I don't understand.
You understand this gun, don't you? Now do as I told you. And don't move from that spot. I want you to stand right under the light where I can see that sly face of yours.
But what is wrong?
You wanted to get rid of me. You tried to protect yourself. You called Harding. You told him I was hiding here.
No, Vivian, no. I just happened to see him on the midway.
I should have known you'd try something like this. But you're not getting away with it. You're going to die.
I wouldn't move if I were you, Vivian.
The snake. It's out.
I left the lid off the basket before, as a precaution. The slightest move from you, Vivian, and he'll strike.
Hakim, please.
See how he watches you, Vivian, waiting for you to make a single motion.
Please, Hakim. Get him back. You can do it.
Yes, all I have to do is play my flute.
Well, then play before...
Knowing that you plan to kill me with that gun?
I won't, Hakim. I promise I won't. It's only you.
A promise from you? What? Be careful, Vivian. You mustn't dodge.
Hakim, listen to me.
Not the slightest move or he'll strike.
Listen to me, please. I'll share the profits from the formula with you, Hakim.
You're not one to be trusted, Vivian.
You can trust me now. You can.
How do I know you even have the formula? For all I know...
I do have the formula, Hakim. It's right here in my coat pocket, believe.
Stand where you are, Miss Lawrence. It'll be just as easy to kill another snake. Drop that gun. I'll get it, Chief.
You heard everything, Mr. Harding?
Yes, Hakim. We waited until we were sure she had the formula papers with her. Thanks for all your help.
I was glad to prove to you, Mr. Harding, that I'm really on the right side.
And I was right. You did call the Counterspy.
I would have, Vivian, but they came to me first.
Sorry I had to kill your cobra, Hakim, but we wanted to make sure of taking this woman alive.
Oh, you didn't have to worry about that cobra, Mr. Peters. His fangs were removed years ago.
Removed? Then he wouldn't...
That's right, Vivian. All your fears were for nothing.
Yes, Miss Lawrence, you were tricked by a toothless cobra. But we have laws in this country especially designed for people like you, laws with very healthy, strong teeth in them.
Well, that takes care of Vivian Lawrence. Now let's take care of the refreshments. Bring on those big, big Pepsis and have delicious Pepsi-Cola all around. Tastes good. You just can't match Pepsi's fresh, tangy flavor. And there's plenty for two of you in Pepsi's big 12-ounce bottle. Get Pepsi by the carton. It's 6 bottles, but 12 drinks. So save all that money and enjoy that extra zing and bounce delicious Pepsi gives you. Remember, Pepsi's proven highest quality, yet it gives you twice as much.
Pepsi-Cola, it's a spot. 2 full glasses, that's a lot. Twice as much and better, too. Pepsi-Cola is the drink for you. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola. Delicious Pepsi-Cola.
Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday, same time, same station, to Counterspy. Listen on Tuesday for the exciting Case of the Hijacked Country.
Years ago, it took a well-equipped army and an aroused population to carry out a revolution. But in modern times, a few determined men can seize a country by the throat, and not always for the purpose of revolution. For the amazing facts of the greatest hijack in history, listen on Tuesday to
The Case of the Hijacked Country on Counterspy. Tonight's Counterspy program originated in New York, was directed by Mark D. Loeb, dramatized by Edward Adamson, and featured Don McLaughlin and Mandel Kramer, with music by Jesse Crawford. This is Jay Jackson speaking. Counterspy is a Phillips H. Lord production for Pepsi-Cola. Enjoy some delicious Pepsi tonight. Production for Pepsi-Cola. Enjoy some delicious Pepsi tonight.
When it started, the tide was high on the San Pedro waterfront, and a hot-tempered kid had murder on his mind. But there was a knife at my throat, a beating under the piers, and a corpse on the beach before the tide went out again, and the kid was finally stopped.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, Night Tide.
It all happened in San Pedro, the harbor of Los Angeles. The lights on the ships were fuzzy through the wet mist that creeps up out of the ocean every night. And I drove slowly looking for the establishment of Mike Basso, my new client. One side of the crooked street was nothing but the smell and the sound of oily salt water sloshing through the pilings beneath the piers. On the other side was a tangle of warped, dingy buildings, equipped to satisfy the thirsts of reckless men who never get beyond the waterfront of any port. The foghorn out on the breakwater began to bellow as I parked near a U-shaped pier, labeled Basso Docks Private, and walked past a line of moored fishing boats to a squat two-story office. The bottom floor was dark, but the second floor had lights on. So I started up the steep wooden stairs and was halfway to the top when I caught the voices.
I don't want dumb excuses, John.
One I'd already heard over the phone when I was hired. It was my client, Mike Basso.
But you'll make them jump, or I'll get somebody who can. These boats got to be handled faster. Why, even the crook Johnny Dyke was better on this job than you are.
Johnny Dyke? Why, I ought to...
Get out of my way.
The big guy with the Latin jaw shoved past me and stomped down the stairs. So I went on up into the office. Mike Basso looked like a block of concrete, his 220 thick pounds hunched over a scarred roll-top desk. But as I walked in, he swung a heavy bulldog head around and glared at me.
You never heard of knocking first, I guess. You Marlowe?
That's right. And Moose had just left here, got me all out of the mood for courtesy.
That's Sharky, my crew pusher.
Yeah.
Good man, but slow. Come here. Sit down. We got other business. Have drink cognac.
Thanks.
Okay? Now, there's a hothead punk by the name of Johnny Dyke. I sent him to prison 3 years ago for stealing money from me. I made it as tough as I could for him.
Any special reason why?
Sure. Because I trust a fellow who works for me.
Uh-huh.
Johnny Dyke used to have Sharky's job, but he took advantage. When the police grabbed him and found my money in his own house, he squealed like a pig and said he was framed. Like all cheap punks do.
How does this get around to you wanting a private investigator?
Because Johnny Dyke is out of prison. Got out yesterday on parole. And he's back in town now. Hey, you. What you looking at?
Your clock. How come it says 11:30 at 20 to 8?
It's electric. It was turned off last night, and I didn't start it yet. Now, look. I was here with Ed Giles when he heard some noise on my private launch out there.
He went down to see about it, and...
Who's Ed Giles?
My general manager. While he was gone, the lights went out in here. That's when I got clubbed on the head. When I went down, I got kicked around. Plenty. I'd be killed right now, but Sharky happened to come along, and the guy was scared off of me.
Did you happen to see who it was?
No. Ed Giles did. He got a good look. He admitted it. Only he claims he don't know who it was. But he lies. On account of he's an old friend of Johnny Dykes.
Well, maybe Giles isn't lying. What makes you so certain it was Johnny who slugged you?
They found this. Just a book of matches, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But see how the edges are crimped. Johnny Dyke always did that. He's nervous, all the time fidgeting. Sure. He might as well have left his calling card for me. With Johnny all right.
Okay, Basso, but before you get too far in, I'll tell you something. I don't go in for bodyguarding.
Who wants a bodyguard? Here's what you do, Marlowe. Find that punk, see what he's got in mind. He beat me up once. Maybe that's all he wants. Or maybe he's coming back to put a knife in me. Just find out and let me know. That's all.
I looked out at the fishing boats along the pier, gently nudging each other, while Mike Basso told me that Johnny had a blonde wife named Christine, who ran the Albatross Cafe, and that Ed Giles lived alone in a house at 43 Terminal Road. That was enough for a starter. So I said I'd keep in touch and left. As I walked off the pier, the blinking neon light from the sign across the street made a swirling green veil out of the mist between me and my car. So I almost got up to it before I saw her, leaning lazily against the door on the driver's side. A girl in a tight black silk dress, cheap fur jacket, and double ankle strap spikes. She smiled with one corner of her red mouth as I walked up to her and stopped.
Hello, sugar.
Hiya, sweetheart.
The name's Ginger.
Oh, that's too bad. Ginger always gives me hive.
Don't be like that. What did Mike Basso have to say?
Yeah, we were talking business, baby, that's all. Say, tell me, which way to Terminal Road?
It intersects about 10 blocks down.
Mm-hmm.
What's the number?
43.
Oh, you want to turn right then. Ed's place is a cozy, secluded one by the water.
Oh, thanks. You know Mr. Giles, huh?
Yeah, he's around Mike all the time. He's nothing.
Well, I'll see you around.
So long, handsome.
Yeah? You want something?
You Giles, Mike Basso's man?
Yeah. So what?
I'm Marlowe, private detective. I'm looking for Johnny Dyke.
Why'd you come here?
Because you're a friend of his, the only one?
I haven't seen or heard from him, so I'm afraid I can't help you.
Now, wait a minute. Let's go inside. I'd like to talk about the kid.
Now, look.
He's put himself in a pretty hopeless situation coming back here to Pedro. What do you think?
Because he's got enemies like Mike Basso and Sharky?
Yeah. What's he going to do? Fight it out or be smart and leave town?
Listen, private investigator, I told you once. I don't know because I haven't seen him.
You're a liar. You saw him last night.
You're working for Mike, aren't you? Get up, beat it.
Don't shove.
I'll shove harder than that, brother.
Okay, Giles. We'll try it the hard way. Now, where's Johnny?
I don't know.
Come on, get up. Get up. Let's play again. You saw him last night, didn't you? Didn't you?
Oh, all right. I saw him about 11:30. I was standing on the deck of Mike's launch when I heard a commotion and looked up. I saw Johnny jump down the stairs from Mike's office and run off the pier. I haven't seen him since, and that's the truth.
Okay. Sorry I had to make you squeal on a friend. Now, where's the Albatross Cafe?
The Albatross?
Yeah.
On the corner of Front and Castle Avenue. But look, can't you leave Chris out of this? She's a good kid. She's been through a lot already.
Think Johnny's going to leave her out of it? Besides, it's for her own good that I want to see her.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. But I'll tell you something for your own good, too, Marlowe. If you find Johnny Dyke, don't push him too hard. He was tough before he left. Now he'll have rawhide for brains. Depend on it.
At the corner of Front and Castle, I spotted the Albatross Cafe. Half on land, half teetering on a set of spindly stilts, ringing the high water mark with jagged lumps of barnacles. I parked down the street and started back when the door swung open and the Latin-jawed moose Sharky lumbered out. I watched him cross the street without seeing me and disappear between two buildings. I waited a couple of minutes and then I went in. Took a booth near the front. The place was neat and clean, even to tablecloths. A soft, brown-eyed blonde in a crisp peasant dress picked up a menu and came over.
Good evening, sir.
Chris?
Yeah?
Oh. Well, Chris, it's probably not on the menu around here, but how about a double order of plain facts, straight?
What are you talking about?
Johnny. You remember Johnny Dyke, your husband?
Who are you, mister?
Private detective named Marlowe. All I want to do is talk to him, Chris. Just talk. Is he here?
No, I haven't seen him. He hasn't even called me.
How do you feel about this bird known as Sharky?
He's a lout.
Oh?
He always crowded Johnny, and now he's got his job.
I hear he knows something. Have you seen him lately?
No, I haven't.
That's funny. He just left here.
Okay, so I'm a liar.
Maybe you're just blind. I've heard that love does that, baby.
Maybe. Any skin off your nose?
Nope. Cigarette? Then how about a match for me, huh?
I suppose so. Let's see. Yeah. Here.
Thanks. Hey, these are cute. That crimp border around the edge, especially. The one put there by somebody's jittery thumbnail, huh?
Listen,
Maybe your eyes are bad. Maybe not, Chris. But you better do something about your nerves. They're shot. Good night, baby. I didn't look back, but I knew she was watching me all the way out the door and down the street, so I made it real good as far as the next block and around the corner. Then I doubled back fast and stayed in the shadows until I got within sight of the Albatross Cafe again. And in time to see a man ease out a side door and slip out of sight among the pilings under the building. I moved in closer and found a rickety trail of greasy planks that led out through the forest of slimy pilings under the piers. I felt better on a tight rope, but it was home ground to Johnny Dyke. I felt my way slowly along the slippery planks. And from behind the piling, an arm like steel springs snapped under my chin while a hand pressed the point of a long, thin knife with a curved white handle up against my throat.
You said you wanted to talk to me, Marlowe, so talk. But fast, because I don't have much time. Ease up on my throat, will you? Okay.
There. Yeah. You're a sucker. Why don't you try to give up? Trying to even the score. Get out of town and forget it.
Yeah, sure. Sure, to you, that's easy. You didn't spend 3 long years in the cooler for something you didn't do. I'm going to get even, all right. I don't know how for sure yet, but I will.
You wind up right back in the coop, sucker. If it keeps this time, is it going to be worth it?
Could be. I was a good boy up there. Every time I wanted to slug a guard, I said Mike Basso to myself instead. Now I got it all bottled up inside me. I'm not going to carry all that hate around forever. I'm going to get rid of it, and there's only one way to do it.
Ed Giles was right. You've got rawhide for brains. You better put the knife away, Johnny. I think we got visitors.
Sure we have, Marlowe. Rats. Big ones. The piers are full of them.
You should feel right at home,
Just
punk.
don't sleep too long, pal. Oh!
Between the throbbing in my head and the numbness across my shoulders where my back had struck the planks, it took me 5 minutes to get to my feet and another 5 to climb up the street level. By then the pier was deserted, so I headed for the Basso docks on the double with the unpleasant answer to my client's question, plus the added attraction that I'd even seen the knife Dyke intended to use. I still had a block to go when I saw a hulk that had to be Sharky stride off the pier and turn in my direction. When I got close enough, I hailed him.
Yeah, I'm Sharky. What do you want, bud?
Is Mike still in the office?
Who wants to know?
Come on, this is no time to stall. Heavy on Marlowe. I'm working for him. I got a message you won't keep. Is he there or no?
No. The office is locked up. He's gone. I'm looking for him myself.
Why? What do you want him for?
Because I'm pretty sure that Johnny Dyke is holed up in the back room of the Albatross Cafe.
Yeah, I only wish you were right, Sharky, but you're about a half hour too late.
Hey, what was that? Came from up the street there.
Yeah, let's go, Sharky. Maybe we're both too late. Let's find out.
Yeah. Hey, what? The dame by the guardrail. It's Ginger, a pal of Mike Basso.
Yeah, you're right. Ginger! Ginger, what's the matter? What happened?
Go down there. Take a look, will you? I'm scared.
Down where, Ginger?
In the water. I think maybe I'm going to be sick.
Marlowe. Hey, Marlowe, come here. Look. Holy smoke. That's Mike down there with a knife in his back. Yeah. A long, thin knife with a curved white handle. Belongs to a guy named Johnny Dyke.
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, he may be a close neighbor of yours. At least he lives quite near you. You go to the polls, you elect him, you bid him farewell, trusting him to represent you in Washington. From then on, what happens to your congressman in the nation's capital? What pressures are brought to bear on him? In how many hundreds of fields must he rapidly become a good expert? Why does he vote as he does? Tomorrow night on CBS, you'll hear Ralph Bellamy, star of radio, stage, and screen, playing a typical freshman congressman in the 81st Congress. His story will be a drama taken from interviews and talks with many regular congressmen, with Washington experts, with politicians, with voters like yourselves. This CBS documentary unit drama, The People's Choice, starring Ralph Bellamy, will come to you over most of these same CBS stations. Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, Night Tide.
Lying with his face muzzled into the sand and the rest of him half submerged in the shallow lapping water, Mike Basso was violent death at its ugliest. Ginger turned and walked slowly away from us, trembling like a wino caught in the morning sun. But I told Sharkey to go get the police. And I headed for the Albatross, where I figured I might get a lead on Mike Basso's murderer. When I got there, I skipped the formality of the front door and quietly moved around to the back, where I entered without knocking and made my way along a narrow, dusky corridor as far as a half-open door labeled Private, where I met Christine Dyke talking on the telephone. When she looked up and gasped at the sight of me and then slammed the phone down abruptly, I was willing to bet that the party on the other end had been husband Johnny. Nobody else.
What do you want, Marlowe?
Most of all, one Johnny Dyke in handcuffs. Don't bother with the my man pitch, honey, because at the moment the lyrics will make me sick. I just left a corpse that used to be Mike Basso.
Basso? Dead, Marlowe?
Yeah. All because of Johnny's knife that's sticking in his back, Chris.
No, Marlowe. Johnny wouldn't do a thing like that. He couldn't.
You're wrong, Chris. He did. Now, where is he?
I don't know.
You're lying, baby. You were just talking to him on the phone. You gotta know.
No, I don't. He didn't say where he was
Oh, what?
or anything about Basso being dead, so... Don't move, Marlowe.
Well, husband with knife, wife with gun. Charming couple.
Never mind that. I'm not going to see Johnny in trouble again for something he didn't do. So get in that closet, Marlowe, where you'll be out of the way. Now.
All right. In it is. But first, baby, a word of advice. He isn't worth it, believe me.
I don't. So get in and keep your mouth shut.
The closet in Chris's office, which doubled as a storeroom for the restaurant, had no window and a 3-inch thick oak for a door. So I was 20 minutes as a one-man mob scene bouncing the inventory around before I was heard. And a little man with a big meat cleaver who belonged in the kitchen opened up and demanded to know what I was doing in there. I heaved the number 10 tomato juice can at him for an answer, started running, and didn't stop until I was outside, in my car, and pointed for Ed Giles' cottage. The only other place I knew where Johnny Dyke might go for help. I came to a stop at the house and found Giles himself standing on the outside steps looking puzzled at a pair of taillights that were blinking out of sight. I knew I was too late.
Yeah, Marlowe, it was Christine. And all upset about getting her hands on $500. Said I had to lend it to her for Johnny's sake.
She say why?
No, only that he needed help.
Murderers usually do. Your boy Dyke just killed Basso Giles. A knife in his back.
Johnny killed Mike.
About an hour ago over on the beach. Tell me, did you give her the money?
Ah. She ran out of the house before I even got to my safe.
Without saying anything?
Without saying a word, Marlowe. I wouldn't even know she was gone yet if I hadn't heard...
Heard what, Gal?
The desk drawer in the living room. Come on, Marlowe, quickly. I heard the drawer open when I was inside near my safe. I wondered what she was looking for when I called for it.
You got no answer. You ran outside after her, is that it?
Yeah, and I... Hey, Marlowe, they're gone. The boat keys. She must have taken them for Johnny. Asking for the money was only a trick to get me out of the room.
Wait a minute. What boat keys are you talking about, Guy?
The master said, Marlowe. 2 keys on a large brass ring. They fit the ignition lock on any boat at the Basso docks. She knew I had them.
Yeah, but she also knew that even as a friend of Johnny's, you'd balk at handing him over if you knew he killed Basso, right? Or are you still shielding old friends, Giles? Which is it?
Don't be stupid, Marlowe. I draw the line someplace.
All right. Now, one more question. Do you have a gun?
A gun? Well, yeah, I do.
Good. Then get it, because we're going to the Basso docks, Giles. Come on. Both piled into my car, and in something less than 10 minutes, ripped through the wide, empty streets to the Basso docks, which were 2 parallel piers set about 100 feet apart and jutting out deep into the bay with more than a score of boats moored to the inboard side of each. But when we were out of the car and saw nothing of Johnny Dyke or the girl, and heard no sound other than the dull thump of wood on wood and the rhythmic slap of water against the hulls, I decided that we should split. And I told Giles to search one pier carefully while I took off for the other. But a minute later, just as I started out alone over the oil-soaked planking, I remembered the panoramic view of the docks I'd gotten earlier that evening from Basso's office. So I stopped, then turned and ran to the flight of wooden steps that led to it. I was halfway up them when I stopped again. There was somebody ahead of me and with a key opening the office door. I crouched low and moved closer one slow step at a time toward what I knew might be Johnny Dyke. But in the next second, the light clicked on in the office, and I forgot all about being subtle and leveled the .38 in my hand at the belt buckle of the sharply silhouetted figure. It was Sharky. I wouldn't move if I were you, Buster.
Who is it?
Marlowe, Sharky. Who are you expecting?
Nope, nobody, funny man. But I wouldn't want it to be Johnny Dyke at the moment. He might want to settle old scores. You know, Marlowe, the price for 2 murders is the same as the price for 1.
So I've heard. But now, lest we stray from the subject, Sharky, do you mind telling me what you're doing here? And don't say I'm getting personal, or I will. Come on, talk up like a big boy.
All right. I'm here because I don't like cops. Right now they're down on the beach swimming around Basso's body like kids around a maypole. Also, I figured that before he blew, Dyke might come up here after the money he knew Basso always kept on hand. Satisfied?
In a word, no.
Why not?
Because I buy the switch first. You're here, Sharky, to steal that dough and let people think that Dyke took it on his way out.
You can't prove that,
Only because I haven't got time. You see, Sharky, it's an odds-on bet that Dyke's out on one of those boats right now. Just waiting for the...
What is it, Marlowe?
Sharky, what time is it?
Huh?
The time! Quick, what is it?
But it's 11:35. Why? What's that got to do with Dyke shoving off?
From where I stand, everything. Now, look, Sharky, get back down to those cops. Get them up here. And...
Marlowe, look. Over there at the end of the starboard pier. It's Dyke.
Yeah, and trying to get away. Go on, Sharky. Get to the cops fast. I took the wooden steps back down to the docks 3 at a time and then raced across the starboard pier and out on the length of it until I was close enough to the end, where I could see Johnny Dyke climbing over one of the boats. I was about to call to him to stop when I saw something else. Standing almost opposite me in the shadow of some nearby rigging, gun in hand and taking careful aim at Dyke, was Ed Giles, his fingers slowly closing on the trigger. It was too late for words, so I followed suit and fired before he did. Got him high in the shoulder.
You fool, Marlowe. It's me, Giles. Dyke is out there.
I know. The man who murdered Basso isn't. He's right here, Giles.
What do you mean, Marlowe?
But I just found out you're a liar about seeing Dyke last night from the deck of Basso's launch. You couldn't have.
So what?
So you weren't shielding him, Giles. You were framing him. Framing him so that you could get rid of Basso and pin his murder on Dyke, who you'd also get rid of while playing public citizen who's helping the private detective apprehend a killer. Well, what do you say, Giles? Is that it?
You're a smart guy. Figure it out for yourself.
Come clean, Giles, or I'll blow your head off.
All right, Chris and I framed Dyke.
Chris?
Yeah.
What are you giving me?
Honest, Mama. We figured that we'd be in the clear with the money we took from Basso. And with Johnny well tucked away in a big, strong prison.
You dirty louse. Keep talking.
So we took advantage of Johnny's loud mouth and incidentally, you as well. With Basso gone, I was going to step into his spot.
You're the one with the loud mouth, Giles.
Well, Little Red Riding Hood. I went for your line.
funny what a sucker a smart guy can be.
He wasn't the only sucker, baby.
Johnny!
Stay back, Johnny. Shoot if they move an inch. She's got a gun.
Shoot him, Chris. Shoot. Come on.
Stay away, Johnny. Get away from me.
You wouldn't shoot me, Chris. You wouldn't shoot your own husband. The man you talked into running away until things quieted down. The man you'd move heaven and earth to help so he could be shot in the back. But you can't shoot me while I'm facing you, can you? You cheap, filthy, double-crossing little scout. Enough, Johnny. Cut it out. Okay, Marlowe. Okay.
It was a long hour of questions and answers before the police were finished. And they'd left with Chris and Giles in tow. Johnny and I were standing alone out on the end of the pier, where I was looking down into the shallow black water below and listening to him try to convince himself that the whole night had been something more than a bad dream.
Chris against me. Giles against me from the very beginning, Marlowe.
That's right.
Giles because he wanted to be in Basso's place. My wife, Chris, because she wanted him.
That's right. When Basso hired me to see what you had in mind after that beating he'd taken from what he thought was you, but was really Giles laying the groundwork, I fell into the role of star witness. Somebody reliable enough for them both to play against.
Oh. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, so you could testify that at first Giles had tried to shield me like a good friend.
Yeah.
And in the end had to kill me when I tried to escape.
Sure. And just to make sure there were no slips, Chris kept feeding you instructions under the heading of wifely advice. Yeah, it practically ran on a timetable, Johnny.
Yeah.
But there was one slip. I found out Giles was a liar and trying to frame, not shield you.
Huh? How was that, Marlowe?
Well, look, he said he saw you beat up Basso in his office at 11:30 last night when he was down on the deck of Basso's private launch, investigating a strange noise.
Yeah?
Well, Johnny, he couldn't have. Because at 11:30 last night, as well as 11:30 tonight, the tide was low. Of course, the launch with it. And from Basso's office, you couldn't even see the launch.
Yeah. Or the other way around. From the launch, you couldn't see the office, right?
That's it. So in the end, Johnny, you did have a friend who stuck by you. The sea.
Yeah. I guess that's as good a place as any for me. Maybe the sooner the better.
Any place in particular?
No, just the sea. I'll drop you a card whenever I make port, Marlowe. After all, I really had two friends. I won't forget that. So long, fellow.
I watched him walk away until he'd gone the length of the empty pier and was swallowed up in the emptier night. Then I turned back to the shallow black water beneath me, which, where the sea and the land were close to meeting, was coated thick with oil and dirty and almost stagnant. And I thought a lot about Johnny. People like Chris and Giles he'd mixed with and trusted. I felt sorry for him. But then I looked up a little, away from the water at the pier and out toward the open sea where it was deeper, cleaner. The further I looked, the cleaner it seemed to be. Then I remembered that was where Johnny Dyke was heading. And I felt better.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, created by Raymond Chandler, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Mel Donnelly, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Michael Ann Barrett, Lou Krugman, Howard Culver, Frank Gerstle, Georgia Ellis, and Frank Richards. The special music is by Richard O'Runt. Be sure to be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
I was hired to find a thief, and I did. 8,000 miles away from home. But first, I found a hammy Othello, a lush with a Luger, and a fresh corpse in the closet. All because the only woman in sight wouldn't play fair.
A tortoise told a household pest, goodbye, goodbye. An MD said, you'll pass the test, up in the sky. This is the newest Phantom lyric on CBS's Saturday Night Sing It Again program. And later tonight, over most of these same CBS network stations, you'll hear the Phantom himself singing them. $51,000 ride on solving the Phantom's identity and answering one more question about him. $26,000 in wonderful prizes for telling who he is. $25,000 in cash for answering the extra question. How's for listening in tonight? Phone calls go out to CBS listeners throughout the nation. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Now, stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these same CBS stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Now, in cooperation with police and federal law enforcement departments throughout the United States, CBS Radio presents Gangbusters! Gangbusters, the only national program that brings you authentic police case histories, has asked Mr. Louis J. Whiteman, former Special Assistant to the Attorney General, Criminal Division, United States Department of Justice, to narrate tonight's case. By transcription, Mr. Whiteman.
Thank you, and good evening, Gangbusters listeners. Suppose we opened tonight's case not too many months ago in the city of Washington, D.C., in a small tailor shop on a side street near the Union Station. A young man was pressing the trousers of a customer who waited behind a partition.
How about it, kid? Yeah, just a second, Wes. I'll have the pants ready. There you are, Wes. Here's your pants.
Ah, you're fast, kid.
Yeah? Thanks.
All right, now, make it snappy with the jacket, will you? I got a big operation on.
Wes.
Yeah, kid?
How about taking me along on one of those big operations? I could be a lot of help, you know.
You stick to your job here, you're better off. How about that coat,
Yeah, right away.
And don't put any creases in the sleeves.
No creases in the sleeves, Wes.
I'm going to use the phone.
Help yourself, Wes.
Hello, baby. Wes.
Oh, what time will you be back me, Wes?
Look, baby, we'll have to make it some other night.
Some other night? Wes, I went out and bought a new dress and everything.
Well, I can't see you tonight. I got a business deal on.
Wes.
Oh, the dress will keep. You'll get to wear it.
How about tomorrow night?
I don't know about tomorrow night. I'll call you.
Wes, honey.
Said I'll call you. So long, baby.
How you doing on that coat? Yeah, in a second, Wes. Boy, I never seen anybody handle women like that and have them come back for more.
It's all in the approach, kid. You treat them nice, they got you. You keep them hanging, they're worried. Technique.
You ought to take me in, Wes. Show me the ropes. I'd be a valuable guy. You know I done time, Wes.
Where'd you do time?
I was at the district jail.
Oh, that junior college?
Well, can I help it where they sent me? I'm sick of pressing pants. How about it, Wes? I can do you some good.
I'll tell you what, kid. Hey, what's your name anyway?
Duke. They call me Duke.
Duke, huh? All right, Duke. When the time comes, I'll keep you in mind. You'll hear from me.
Well, where is he? You told him 7 o'clock.
He'll be here, Eddie. Take it easy.
I don't like standing on street corners waiting, Vic. Wes should know when you say 7 o'clock, that means 7 o'clock.
We got plenty of time, Eddie.
Wes should know.
Yeah, maybe you should. Hey, look, Eddie.
Yeah?
You know, Wes is a little too easy going for our type of operation. I mean, everything with him is dames, clothes. You know, maybe it'd be a good idea to check him out of the deal.
Yeah, I'd feel a lot better with... Hey. We need 3 guys, at least 3 guys in this caper tonight. 2 to handle the driver, 1 to drive the truck to the drop.
Yeah, I know we do, Eddie. We'll let Wes help us. And
if we're going to cut him out, we ought to cut him out now. After all, he takes a pretty big slice.
Oh, he'll get cut out of the slice, too.
How can we manage that if he knows we got the stuff, if he helped us get it?
Use your head, Eddie. We'll knock the truck over. You drive it to the drop. Wes and me will handle the driver. Now, what do we tell Wes? The truck wasn't loaded with cigarettes. It was running late. What kind of comeback has he got?
You want to see the truck?
Sure, you want to see the truck. We'll take him out to the drop in the morning, show it to him. It'll be empty. We'll work all night, unloading, moving the cigarettes. Okay?
Sure, Vic. Why not? What's Wes mean to me? Always late and running around.
Okay, hold it. Here he comes.
Hiya, boys. You all set?
It's the idea, Wes. Can't you ever make a meeting on time?
What are you complaining about? I got here, didn't I? All right, let's go, Vic. What are we waiting for? It's a long ride to Baltimore.
Yeah, let's go. I got the car parked around the corner.
All right. You sure the truck's going to be there like you said, Vic? I hate to run up to Baltimore in a wild goose chase.
Oh, it'll be there. The driver stops at that diner every night. Goes for a waitress.
Well, I just want to be sure. I passed up something pretty sweet myself tonight. I don't want it to turn out to be a dud altogether.
Vic says there'll be some load on that truck. We ought to do great.
I'll wait till I see it.
Around the corner.
Another cup of coffee, big boy?
Nah, honey, I can't. I gotta drag that truck into Wilmington.
Oh, that's too bad.
You ever get into Wilmington?
On occasion. If it's an occasion.
Well, do you have a night off?
Sure. Thursdays.
Well, how do you like that? Thursday's my night off, too. Suppose we get together, huh?
Well, if I got to.
Hey, Gray, how about a little service down this way?
All right, I'll be there.
I'll stop in tomorrow night and we'll talk about it, okay, honey?
Okay.
All right. What's my bill, huh?
Oh, coffee and pie at 35 cents.
Hey, honey, I'll see you. See you tomorrow night, huh?
All right, buddy. What? I'll take those keys.
Hey, now, listen.
Listen to yourself, buddy. This is a heist. We want that truck.
Get him the keys.
Yeah.
Okay, pal. Here you are. Hop in the truck. Get going.
But I'll be seeing you.
Take care of that load.
Come on, buddy.
Where are you taking me?
You'll see. Get going. There's the car.
He said get going.
All right.
That's better. All right, pull up the road here.
Yep.
Hey, now, listen, guys.
Be quiet.
You'll get hurt worse.
Okay, come on. Come on, get out of here.
Go on. Get out there.
Yeah, but listen.
Go on. Walk in the brush.
Hey, guys.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, this is far enough.
Hey, fellas.
Give it on.
Oh, don't shoot me.
Who's going to shoot you? This is going to be worse than shoot.
No, stop playing with him. Lay him out.
Yeah.
No.
That ought to keep him quiet.
Okay, let's get moving.
Vic, how much you think we can net out of that load?
That depends on how many cases there is. Now, get in.
Yeah, okay.
All right, move out of here.
jerk knows the way to the drop. He's only seen it once, you know. I hope he got the truck there.
Ah, he got it there.
So nervous, maybe he drove it over a bridge.
Ah, he got it there, I told you.
Maybe we ought to go check up on him.
Listen, the safest and best thing we can do is get back to Washington.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, Eddie's a good wheel man.
About all I can say for him.
Hey, Wes.
Yeah?
And what do you say we cut Eddie out of this deal?
All together?
All together.
I'd cut the score 2 ways instead of 3, wouldn't it?
It sure would.
You think you can manage it? With Eddie, I mean?
Sure, I can manage it.
How?
Well, I'll tell him the truck was loaded with dog food instead of cigarettes.
Suppose he looks inside the back after he gets it to the drop.
I told him not to break the seals. He won't.
Okay, Vic. You got a deal.
Good. Glad to count you in.
All right. Look, you don't mind if I make some time going back, do you? It's early yet. Maybe I can still see this tomato.
Yeah, okay. Make some time, Wes. Just don't get us stopped by any law.
Well, that's how this hijacking of a truck carrying goods in interstate commerce was staged. And as a direct result of the robbery, there was considerable activity in the Baltimore field office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, as agents were summoned from their homes and from other assignments.
Hello, Mac. What do we got?
Maryland State Police just called, Gordon. The driver of a Richmond-Wilmington truck reported he was hijacked.
Oh, where?
Outside of Baltimore. 3 guys stuck guns on him as he was coming out of a diner. 2 of them took him out in the woods and slugged him. The third drove off in a truck.
What was in the truck?
Cigarettes.
Well, they know their trucks.
Invoiced at about $30,000, yeah. Here's the name of the driver and the outfit he works for. He's being treated for a cut head, and they've got him on the way to the state police barracks. As soon as he gets there, take him right out and talk to him.
Yeah, sure. I'll take out a few pictures with me. Maybe one will click with the driver.
Meantime, see if you can get somebody from that trucking outfit on the phone. Find out who shipped the goods and who they were consigned to.
Okay. Did you put out a description on the truck?
I did. Those boys look like operators. They probably got it stuck away by now in some drop. I wouldn't doubt if the fences are bidding on the merchandise already.
Eddie, come here. Oh, Wes. How you been?
Fine.
Well, what are you doing here? I thought all your beds were in Washington.
Oh, I don't know, Eddie. Thought maybe I'd run into somebody interesting.
Huh? Well, I got a date, Wes.
What's your hurry? I want to talk to you. Sit down.
I got this date, Wes.
All right, let her wait. How's Vic?
Vic?
Yeah.
Look, Wes, I didn't have nothing to do with it. It was all Vic's idea, honest.
What was all Vic's idea?
Cutting you out of your end. I was against it, honest I was. I didn't want anything to do with it.
How do you like that?
Believe me, Wes, I was really against it. He forced me into it, Vic did.
Okay. Come on over here out of the crowd.
Now, listen, Wes.
Come on, will you?
Yeah, but I didn't mean no harm, Wes. You know I didn't.
I know you didn't. Sit down.
Listen, it was all Vic's idea.
I know it was.
Oh, good, man. I'm glad you realized it.
Because he gave me the same proposition, to cut you out.
He did?
Yeah, and I fell for it.
No kidding.
I knew I should have smelled something. How long has it been since you've seen him?
Not since the job. We stayed up all night taking the goods off the truck. And he said, lay low, he'd have a story for you.
Sure, and he told me he'd have a story for you. He'd bring around my dough as soon as he got rid of it.
What do you think it all means, Wes?
Where's your head? It means he's cutting us both out and keeping it all himself.
And he knows we'd get wise sooner or later.
So who couldn't skip town with all that dough and be comfortable?
And he's gone?
Either gone or fixing to leave. What do you say we go find out?
Well, I don't know, Wes. Maybe he was just joking, the 2 of us.
These things you don't joke about.
Well, what are you going to say to him?
There ain't going to be much talking, Eddie.
You mean...
Don't you think he's got it coming?
Yeah, but... Listen, Wes. What's the use us getting in any deeper?
Listen to me. I'm going to kill him, Eddie, and you're going to help me.
Look, let's just talk with him, Wes. Maybe we can put him right.
He'll be put right. Don't you worry about that.
He left town already anyway.
Come on, we'll find out whether he has.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
See, I told you, Blue Town West.
Knock again. Knock again, will you, Eddie?
Yeah. Ah, come on, it's no use. Let's get out of here, will ya?
Hello, Vic.
Oh, hi, boys. Hey, what's on your mind?
Hiya, Vic.
We want to talk to you, Vic.
About what?
Invite us in. We'll tell you about one.
Sure, come on in.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
What are you, packing suitcases, Vic? Where are you going, on a vacation?
Business trip to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go ahead, sit down in the living room. I'll fix you a drink.
Sure. We don't need no drink, Vic. This is what we want to talk about.
Hey.
West. Go on, drop. All right, now let's find that dough.
Dough?
Yeah, it's ours, ain't it?
Listen, we should have looked for the dough first.
Get it now.
Come on, let's get out of here. The whole building must have heard them shots.
All right, go ahead. It probably ain't in the house anyway. Take your time.
Yeah. It's all clear.
All right. As soon as we get out of here, get lost. Get yourself a story and stick to it.
Get on in there, Eddie. All right, don't shove. Take it easy. I'm gone.
Here he is, Mac. Sit down, Eddie.
Uncomfortable standing.
Sit down.
Okay.
All right, Eddie. We know you're a good friend of Vic's.
That may be so, but I didn't push him. I was dancing at the time in a dance hall. I got a dozen witnesses.
It's not our case whether you kill him or not, Eddie. The detectives are on their way over to talk to you about that. But before they do, we want to know all about those truck hijackings.
Listen, if I give you an inch, you'll want a mile. I don't know anything about anybody hijacking trucks. I don't know anything about anybody killing Vic. I got a dozen witnesses.
He's got a dozen witnesses, all right, Mac. Just my own information. Who did kill Vic?
How should I know? I was dancing.
Who are his friends?
I didn't know he had any friends.
How about you?
Well, except me.
And you've got no idea who put 4 bullets into her?
I told you I was dancing.
And you've got a dozen witnesses?
At least a dozen.
All right. Take them upstairs. Let those city detectives have them when they get here.
No creases in them sleeves, kid.
Yeah, Wes, no creases.
Hello?
Hi, baby.
Wes, where have you been?
Oh, busy.
Am I going to see you tonight?
Sure, why not? I'll be around.
Well, don't stand me up. Hey, did you hear what?
What?
Your friend Eddie got picked up.
He did?
Yeah, by the FBI.
How do you know? I didn't see anything in the papers.
Well, papers have to have everything. He was picked up. He was with Lois when a couple of them nailed him.
All right, now listen to me. I can't see you tonight. I'm going to be busy.
Oh, where?
Then I'm going to leave town. Now, you'll hear from me. Do you understand?
Yeah, Wes, but...
But nothing. You'll hear from me. So long.
Why, Wes, you sure do handle it.
Listen, kid, you wanted me to take you along on something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're coming along.
Something big, Wes?
Big enough. I need some dough to land. That jerk Eddie's probably screaming his head off right now.
About what, Wes?
About nothing. You know how to pick up a car?
Sure, I can get a car.
All right, get one. Be by for me about 9 o'clock.
Where, at your house?
No, not at my house. You know where Huckabucks is?
Yeah, I know, Wes.
All right, pick me up in front of there and be ready for a little action. Now go on. Finish up my coat. Go on, kid, get in the store.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes open. Watch in the back of the counter.
Yes, gentlemen, can I help you?
Yeah, you can help us. Pound of bologna and all your dough. Now get him up.
Get him up.
Oh, please, don't shoot me, please.
I won't shoot you if you behave. Go on, kid. Get behind her and get the dough.
Yeah, get the dough. Hey, it's loaded. There must be $100.
Just get it all.
Oh, please, just take the money and get out.
Will you
please.
shut up?
Oh, please.
All right, see if this don't shut you up. Next time they'll be aimed at you, not the wall.
Yes, sir.
Hey, what'd you want to do that for?
Just get the dough.
I got it. Let's go.
All right, now you stand here, sister. Don't move till you count to 500. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
Start counting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Let's go.
6, 7, 8, 9.
All right, kid, get to the car.
I think we did okay, Wes.
We'll see when we count it. Go on, get in.
There must be plenty.
Get this crate moving.
Yeah. Well, did I do okay?
Yeah, kid, you were fine.
How about it? Can we work together? Partners?
Maybe, kid. When I get back to town. A little heat on right now. Maybe when things cool off. Hey, you did all right picking out the car, too. It's perfect for the job.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw it.
Where'd you get it? With keys and everything?
I rented it.
You what?
I rented it.
I told you to swipe a car.
You didn't say that. You said get one. You don't think anything's wrong. You don't think anybody got the license.
But you didn't give your right name.
Well, shouldn't I have?
Oh, you dumb little... No, it's all right. Nobody saw the license.
Good. I thought for a minute I'd done something wrong.
You're okay, kid. Just drive a couple of blocks and let me out at Union Station. I got a train to make.
Don't you want to split the money?
Yeah, I'll split the money. Give it here. I'll cut it up while you drive.
Yeah, Wes, in my pocket. Take it.
Special Agent McKay.
Hello, Mac. Gordon. The Detective Bureau just called.
Yeah?
A couple of hold-up men shot up a store last night. They say the bullets they took out of the wall match up with those that killed Vic. They came from the same gun.
Have they got any information on the stick-up men?
Yeah, license number. A rented car. It was rented in Arlington, Virginia.
Have they checked with the car agency yet?
They're doing it now.
All right, Gordon. You get with them. If it leads any place, let me know.
Come on in, fellas. I'll be right with you.
You Duke Porter?
Yeah, I'm Duke Porter. What? Oh, cops.
We're special agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah?
You got yourself some trouble again, huh, Duke?
What do you mean, trouble?
Holding up a delicatessen in Baltimore.
Oh.
They want to talk to you about it. They got you right, kid.
Like Wes said, I shouldn't have rented the car, huh?
Yeah, he was right. You shouldn't have rented the car.
Look, fellas, I'm glad to go with you, but there's nobody to mind the store. Not until the boss comes, huh?
Was Wes with you on the job?
Yeah, he took me.
You fired the shots?
Yeah, he fired the shots.
Where is Wes?
I don't know. He did the job to get through to Lamb Town. I guess he must have lambed.
It's his gun. He had good reason. Did you know Vic?
The one that got shot?
Yeah.
No.
He was shot with the same gun. Wes's gun.
No kidding.
No kidding. You don't know where Wes went?
I told you I didn't.
You know where he lives?
Yeah, but he ain't there. I left him off to catch a train.
For where?
I told you I don't know for where.
All right, Duke. You're in a lot of trouble, you know that?
Look, I didn't have nothing to do with this killing thing.
Robbery is still plenty of trouble.
You know any of Wes's friends?
Girls, you mean?
You didn't start with girls.
Oh, Wes has got 1 million girls all over town.
All right, Duke. Let's hear about them. And don't skip any. We want to know about them all.
Well, this second suspect was turned over to the local authorities for prosecution on charges of robbery. The search for the final suspect went on. He was now wanted, both in connection with a series of truck hijackings and for murder. Finally, after several weeks had elapsed, a warrant was filed by the United States Commissioner charging that he had fled across the state line to avoid prosecution for the crime of murder.
Special Agent McKay.
Hello, Mac. Gordon. I'm at Union Station.
What's doing there?
You said look up this Angie gal again. I did. But as I was talking to the landlady, she went out the door with a suitcase.
Hmm?
I followed her to the station. She bought a ticket to Pittsburgh.
Where is she now?
On the train, waiting for her to pull out. You want me to still follow her?
She'll probably lead you right to West.
That's what I'd say.
All right, Gordon, get on the train. I'll fly to Pittsburgh and meet you. Meanwhile, I'll get hold of Pittsburgh field office and...
Mac.
Yeah?
I'm going to have to run for the train to make it.
Go ahead, Gordon, run. I'll see you in Pittsburgh.
Wes is anxious to meet her. He sure doesn't show it.
I checked the long-distance records before I left. There was a Pittsburgh call for her. Must have been to set up a meeting here.
But you don't know for sure it was.
No, it came from a public phone.
No, she's got to meet someone. Right off the train and into a bar she goes. You don't think he suspects a trap?
Could be.
At least we're pretty sure he's in Pittsburgh.
We suspected a trap. He'd get out as fast as he could.
Yeah. Let's get over to that table.
Sit down.
I sure hope this doesn't turn out real.
Coming through that door.
Is it him?
It's hard to make him from the picture, but...
It's him.
All right, watch your step. We don't want anybody hurt.
Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, worried, Liz.
Well, I still got a hard time finding my way around this town.
You rushed me up from Washington. At least you could be on time.
I told you, baby, I was sorry. Did you bring the dough?
Yeah, I brought it.
All right, let's have it. I'm nearly broke.
I'll give it to you if you tell me what this is all about.
Look, give me the dough. Never mind what it's all about.
Wes, Okay.
Come on, let's grab him.
Yeah. Hurry up, will you, Angie?
Okay, Wes, on your feet.
No, you don't.
Watch him, yeah.
What's this all about?
Sit where you are, Angie. Come on, Wes. On your feet. Get up.
Right. What are you, Pittsburgh cops?
The special agents of the FBI.
What did it? When I phoned Angie, was that the sucker move?
Go back a little farther than that, Wes. When you shot Vic, that was the sucker move. Now go on. Out that way.
You too, Angie.
All right, I'm going.
Well, Gangbusters listeners, these two men were indicted and tried for the murder of their accomplice. They were found guilty and are now serving terms of life imprisonment. Indictments charging theft from interstate commerce are still pending against them in federal court.
Thank you, Mr. Louis J. Whiteman. Now, Gangbusters Nationwide Clues, broadcast every week as a public service to assist American police in their war against the underworld. Attention all citizens. Watch for Lloyd Reed Russell, one of the 10 most wanted men in the country. Wanted by the FBI for unlawful flight to avoid confinement for the crime of assault. Listen carefully to his official description.
Lloyd Reed Russell, age 31, 5 feet and a half inches, 147 pounds, small build, brown hair, bald on top, brown eyes, medium complexion, basic work as fireman or farmer. This man has 2 prominent scars, 1 3.5-inch ragged laceration in center of forehead, and 1 3-inch cut on forehead above right eye. He also has noticeable scar on left eyebrow near nose. He has a very broad nose.
Caution, Russell is probably armed and he is considered dangerous. He has escaped from custody twice and once shot and wounded a police officer in fleeing from prison. Attention all citizens, be on the lookout for Jose Desidoro Hernandez, wanted by the FBI for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution for the crime of robbery. His official description.
Jose Desidoro Hernandez, alias Skelly, age 26, 5 feet 9 inches, 130 to 50 pounds, slender build, black hair, brown eyes, dark complexion, basic work as a barber or plumber. This man has a cut scar on the left side of his face from temple to jawbone and a small scar on his left wrist. He has a stooped posture.
Caution, Hernandez may be armed with a gun or knife and should be considered extremely dangerous. If you have any information concerning these fugitives, notify your local police, the nearest office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or Gangbusters at once. Tonight's Gangbusters case was dramatized by Stanley Niss and directed by Leonard L. Bass, with Mandel Kramer and Edwin Bruce in leading roles. The entire production was supervised for CBS Radio by John Ives. Gaylord Avery speaking. Listen next week, same time, same CBS station, to amazing facts in The Case of the Plastered Heel on Gangbusters, a production of CBS Radio in cooperation with Phillips H. Lord. This is the CBS Radio.
Proudly we hail. From New York City, where the American stage begins, here is another program with a cast of outstanding players. Public service time has been made available by this station for your Army and your Air Force to bring you this story, as proudly we hail the United States Air Force. Our story is entitled The Kid with 5 Lives. This is the story of teamwork in the Air Force, a hair-raising escape and rescue behind enemy lines. Our first act curtain will rise in just a moment, but first, attention, college men. If you're not afraid of hard work, if you can take rigid training 6 days a week for 52 weeks, then you've got what it takes to be an aviation cadet. And if that's the case, your future is set. Aviation cadets graduate as Air Force lieutenants, earn more than $5,000 yearly. To qualify, you must have completed 2 years of college, be between the ages of 19 and 26 and a half, single, and in good physical condition. Visit your local Army and Air Force recruiting station for details. And now, your Army and your Air Force present the proudly we hail production, The Kid with 5 Lives.
In the United States Air Force, there are many occasions when personal performance counts very highly in the attainment of objectives. Personal performance, that is, based on individual initiative, individual judgment, individual daring. But while these occasions are marked with pride by all the services, the accent in the United States Air Force is always on teamwork. Organized teamwork that helps to assure the successful accomplishment of any combat or attack mission. And organized teamwork that helps to assure the safe return of every man who goes out on that mission. We're in Korea. The date, December 22nd, 1952. The place, a UN air base for United States F-84 thunder jets. We're crossing the field now. That's the hospital over there. It isn't much of a building. Architecturally, it couldn't win a prize. But it's got everything that's needed inside. And that's where we're going. Inside. Lieutenant Quintus J. Fuller is in here. He's just returned from his first flight into enemy territory. And he's being examined by the flight surgeon, Captain Snyder.
Your eyes look all right. Your pulse is normal. Have you got any pain?
These cuts on my legs itch a little, Doc.
Well, they'll be all healed up in a couple of days. How does your head feel?
Okay, I guess.
Doesn't feel light, does it?
Light? You mean like I was a little dizzy?
Uh-huh.
No, it doesn't feel like that, Doc.
Good. I'll check your blood pressure.
What for, Doc?
Well, just to make sure of a thing or two. Hold up, John.
Okay, but you're sure making a fuss over nothing. I was just shaking up a little bit, that's all.
After what you went through, that's the understatement of the year. Now hold still and try to relax. I want to get an accurate reading.
Hello, Doctor.
Hello, Colonel.
Hello, Lieutenant.
Hello, Colonel.
How is you, Doctor?
Seems to be all right so far, Colonel.
Your first mission, Fuller, and just about everything is not in the book happened to you, didn't it?
Yes, sir. I don't mind admitting now, sir, I was pretty scared out there for a while.
Who wouldn't be?
I was okay until I hit the ground, but after that, I wouldn't have taken any bets I had a future, sir.
Maybe not. Captain Thompson gave me the report. He and the others had some doubts, too. A series of narrow escapes you had. How's the pressure, Captain Snyder? A little high, sir, but under the circumstances, nothing to worry about. No symptoms of shock.
Well, does that mean I can get my clothes on and get out of here?
No, I'm afraid not. I'm going to give you a sleeping tablet and put you to bed until tomorrow morning.
But I'm okay, Doc. I feel okay.
I'm sure of that. But you've had some physical and mental strain. The best thing for you right now is to relax completely. Sleep it off.
Oh, okay.
Don't let it get you down, Fuller. It's standard procedure. No reflection on you personally.
Thank you, Colonel.
You'll find that out when you've been around with us for a while. He's all yours, Captain Snyder.
Oh, Colonel.
Yes, Fuller.
One thing I gotta say, sir. I'm a lucky guy.
Don't think about it.
I'll never forget it, what the other guys did for me.
That's standard procedure, too, Fuller.
I know, sir. But I wouldn't be here if the other guys hadn't stuck with me and pulled me out. I'm not kidding myself about that, sir. I just wouldn't be here.
The other guys? Well, some of them are in their quarters now. That building just across the field from the hospital. Let's go over there and see what they're doing.
Okay, Thompson, what would you call it? Beginner's luck?
I'm not calling it anything, Sim. I'm only saying if the kid had to do it all over again, he'd never make it.
Listen to that. Had to do it all over again. Thing like that couldn't happen again. 1,000,000 to 1.
I guess you're right, Hickey. Even once was too much.
Too much and too often. I'll never forget it if I live to be 175. When he pulled his gun on those two commies that went after him, and it kills me, you know? It just kills me. How about that time he thought he had a box feet?
It wasn't so funny at the time, though, was it?
Maybe it wasn't. We didn't know it. We had time to laugh. Well, anyway, it cleared up one thing for me. I can sleep again.
What do you mean, Hickey?
Quintus J. Fuller. I know what the Quintus stands for.
You're kidding.
No, I mean it, Sims. I've got it all figured out. Quintus. After what happened today, it's got to mean 5 lives. Quintus J. Fuller, the kid with 5 lives. Any arguments?
Not for me, Hickey.
How about you, Thompson?
No arguments on that point. But all 5 wouldn't have meant a thing to him if we didn't have rules.
Yep. Amen.
Well, the first chance we get, we straighten him out. Hickey, I appoint you a committee of 1 to tell him.
Me? Tell him what?
About the rules. No man that's down gets left. I don't want him to start handing out cigars because we brought him back. I don't like cigars anyway.
The operation had begun just 4 hours earlier, that morning of December 22nd, 1952. Captains Thompson and Sims, Lieutenants Hickey and Fuller, representing a flight of 4 F-84 Thunderjets, reported to the operations room for briefing and orders. Colonel Hotchkiss was already there when they arrived.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
How do you feel, Fuller?
Oh, fine, sir, thank you.
Nervous?
No, sir.
Your first run.
Oh, I'm ready, sir.
Good. Thompson?
Yes, sir.
You're the flight leader. Keep an eye on the boy. See that he doesn't make any mistakes.
Yes, sir.
Sims?
Yes, sir.
You're element number 2 leader. Mr. Blue, number 3. You, Hickey, number 4.
Right, sir.
And you, Fuller, number 2.
Yes, sir.
Stay as close as you can to Thompson.
Yes, sir.
If you run into trouble, he'll tell you what to do. All right, gentlemen, let's take a look at the map. This is going to be a napalm run. The enemy is building up concentrations at this point on the Haiju Peninsula, 6 degrees northwest of the 38th parallel. Scout reports indicate that he's bringing in supplies and troops to this point from the China mainland just across the Yellow Sea. He's bringing them in by boat. We think he's building up for an attack on our left flank.
I see.
Now, your objective is the tall grass area over here, just 500 yards from the coast. That tall grass gives the enemy good concealment. It's pretty thick, and in some places grows taller than a good-sized man.
And we've got to be careful not to overshoot it, don't we?
That's right, Thompson. We want as much of that area burned out as possible, and the supplies with it. We want a clear field there so we can follow up with bombing attacks if the enemy continues to use that area as a base.
One thing, Colonel. Have you any idea how much enemy resistance we can expect?
Pretty good idea, Thompson. There are no planes there yet, no anti-aircraft that could be seen. That's 7 hours ago. But there are machine gun emplacements. That's why we got to hit them now, before they get a chance to improve the situation. Any other questions?
No more for me, sir.
James?
No, sir.
Hickey?
No, sir.
Fuller?
No, sir.
All right. You take off at 0620 hours. The code name for JOC will be Crossbow until 1000 hours. After that, if you're still out there, it'll be Scarsdale. That clear?
Right on. Yes, sir.
Code name for your flight is Mr. Blue. Thompson, you're Mr. Blue leader. Fuller, you're Mr. Blue 2. Sims, you're Mr. Blue 3. Hickey, you're Mr. Blue 4. That clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, get going.
Preparation, organization, and secrecy. Together they spell out successful flights and safe returns. No matter where the mission may be, no matter what happens during that mission, the men always have a line back to the base. That's the meaning of JOC, Joint Operations Center. The nerve center that has overall control of air activity in Korea. A headquarters maintained by the Air Force, but to which are assigned officers of the other services. In this way, strikes by land, by sea, or by air can be coordinated. An Air Force ground unit that is always on the alert, that is always monitoring air and ground emergency calls, that never sleeps. Why must the code name of JOC be changed after a certain specified time? To avoid deception by the enemy. To prevent the ambushing of flyers going out to answer a fake distress call. Yes, it's sometimes possible for the enemy to learn the code name of JOC in advance of a mission. But it's hardly possible that the enemy will know the code name after the changeover. And it's hardly possible that the enemy will learn the code names for a flight, whether they be blue, green, orange, or purple. These are vital details known only to the commanding officer, the men on the mission, and the men at JOC. Yes, these are some of the vital details that prevent mistakes, protect lives, save lives. Teamwork. Teamwork all the way. We're on the field. It's 06:17 hours. 17 minutes after 6 o'clock. The planes are ready. The tanks of napalm, jellied explosive gasoline are in place. The men are ready. Getting that last-minute checkup. Those last-minute instructions from Flight Leader Captain Thompson.
Okay. Everything looks okay. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, Fuller.
What's the matter?
Tighten up the harness on your parachute.
Tighten, but I didn't notice. I thought I was as snug as a bug. Thanks.
We're going out, boy. I want to come back for it. Now, look, fellas. We're going to hit to about 25,000 feet of altitude. When we get to the point of attack, we'll go down to about 50 feet. And we'll stay at 50 until we're through. I'll go in first. You guys follow.
Right.
We'll be right behind you, Constable. One demerit if you're not here. Now, the same rules apply as always. Anybody runs into trouble, he sings out. Get that, Fuller?
I got it.
Keep it in mind. You don't want anybody trying to be a hero. Okay, fellas. On your way.
It's exactly 06:20 hours. The takeoff. First, Mr. Blue Flight Leader Captain Thompson and Mr. Blue 2 Lieutenant Fuller. Then Mr. Blue Element Leader Captain Sims and Mr. Blue 4 Lieutenant Hickey. They climb to 25,000 feet. And there's radio silence. Radio silence as they head over the line into enemy territory. As they go on that mission of December 22nd, 1952. The first mission of one Lieutenant Quintus J. Fuller.
Listening to the Proudly We Hail production, The Kid with 5 Lives. We'll return in just a moment for the second act. Here's an important announcement for all college men. If you can qualify as an aviation cadet, you can become a commissioned officer in the Air Force earning more than $5,000 a year. As an aviation cadet, you'll get the most thorough aviation training in the world. But it won't be easy. It takes a good man to make the grade. When you complete your training, you'll receive a commission as a second lieutenant in the Air Force and have a career ahead of you that will take you far, both in military and commercial aviation. To qualify as an aviation cadet, you must be between the ages of 19 and 26 and a half, single, and have at least 2 years of college. See your local Army and Air Force recruiting officer for details. You are listening to Proudly We Hail, and now we present the second act of The Kid with 5 Lives.
Men in 4 Thunderjets are heading toward an objective on the Haichu Peninsula, northwest of the 38th parallel, in enemy territory. They are no longer known as Thompson, Fuller, Sims, and Hickey. They are now a flight known as Mischief Blue. And to the men on the ground and to each other, they must identify themselves only as Blue Leader, Blue 2, Blue 3, and Blue 4. That's how it must be until they return to their base. Meanwhile, in the nerve center of the Air Force Combat Operations, JOC Korea, Joint Operations Center, a group of highly trained combat officers are monitoring all radio channels, ready to go into instant action should an emergency arise or should additional help be needed in the air, on the ground, or on the sea. Nearby, a rescue helicopter is on the alert. The pilot and aid man prepared for instant takeoff to go to the aid of a downed airman. Flight Mischief Blue at 25,000 feet is approaching the objective. The tall grass area 500 feet from the coast. Radio silence. Fuller Blue 2, Sims Blue 3, and Hickey Blue 4 are watching Thompson, the Blue Leader. Then the Blue Leader swoops down. The others follow. Down they go to an altitude of 50 feet. They can see the enemy. See the expressions of surprise on their faces. They level off and drop their tanks of napalm. But the enemy is answering with all the firepower it has available. Machine guns, rifles. That Mischief Blue flight continues, staying at 50 feet. Then, as the mission is almost accomplished, as the area is a mountain of flames.
Blue 2 to Blue Leader. Blue 2 to Blue Leader. I'm in trouble.
What's the matter, Fuller?
I've been hit. I'm in trouble.
Can you hold on?
I don't know. The plane's going crazy.
Okay. Try to get altitude.
Trying.
Let's clear away, Blue 2. Blue Leader to Blue 3 and 4. Blue Leader to Blue 3 and 4.
Blue 3 to Blue Leader. Come in, Blue Leader.
Blue 2 is hit. I'm staying with him, going upstairs. I'll call for the chopper when we get there. Keep those commies down there busy.
Got it. Come on, Blue 4. Let's go after them.
Sims and Hickey set up a cover of fire between the disabled plane and the ground. The enemy ran for cover. Meanwhile, Fuller, traveling at 500 miles an hour, with Thompson on his tail, almost on the wing of an islet, got up to 3,000 feet. Then...
Blue 2 to Blue Leader. Blue 2 to Blue Leader. I'm going to hit for the water. Maybe I can avoid capture if I get over the water.
Hit the silt, Fuller. You're on fire. You're coming apart at the seams.
But I want to...
Never mind the arguments. You haven't got time. Hit the silt. Bail out now.
And Fuller did. He ejected the canopy and then his seat. The ejection seat carried him clear of the burning plane. Then...
Blue Leader to Blue 3 and 4. Blue Leader to Blue 3 and 4.
Blue 3 to Blue Leader. Come in, Blue Leader.
Stay with Fuller. Repeat, stay with Fuller. I'm going upstairs to call the chopper.
Going upstairs to call the chopper. The rescue helicopter. Going upstairs to 5,000 feet to establish radio contact with JOC, the Joint Operations Center. The reason for the altitude is that radio transmitters and receivers in jet aircraft operate in the very high frequency ranges, which depend on a line-of-sight transmission. Obstacles, such as hills, mountains, represent blocks. They must be overcome.
Mischief Blue Leader to crossbow. Mischief Blue Leader to crossbow.
Crossbow to Mischief Blue Leader. Come in, Mischief Blue Leader. Crossbow receiving. Come in.
Blue 2 down, but okay. Repeat. Blue 2 down, but okay. Here's position. Repeat. Giving position.
Rescue Operations, Russell.
Mischief Blue that left here at 0620 is in a rut. One man down, but okay.
Coordinates.
X-ray easy, 5244. Repeat, X-ray easy, 5244.
Got it. What's the mission code? Repeat, mission code.
Mischief Blue, repeat, Mischief Blue.
Right, we're on our way.
And they were. Within a matter of minutes, the rescue helicopter was off the field and heading toward the point of need. In the meantime, Thompson, Hickey, and Sims, flying as low as ground fire would permit, were keeping their eyes on Fuller.
Blue 4
would you feel if you were in his shoes, Blue 4?
Like a stale cookie, but I'd lay down like one, too. I wouldn't be hopping around like a jackrabbit.
Okay, I'll send for a walkie-talkie so you can tell him.
Quit kidding, will you? He'll be out of the grass pretty soon. He'll be out in the open. Hey, look.
Yeah, those two commies with rifles.
Ah, wouldn't you know it? They've spotted him. They're going after him.
Blue 3 to Blue Leader. Blue 3 to Blue Leader. What do we do about those two commies? They're going to get that kid for sure.
We can't go after them, Blue 3. We're liable to get the kid, too. He's in our line of fire.
But we got to do something. From the way Fuller's heading toward those commies, I don't think he even knows they're there.
Okay, let's see if we can't tip him off. Come on.
Maybe I can make it back to the base. I'll make it if I have to run all the way. Holy smoke! What are those guys trying to do? Hedge hop? This is a fine time for them to...
You surrender!
Mackerel, two commies.
You surrender, or we kill you!
And then it happened. Lieutenant Fuller threw himself to the ground, drawing his pistol as he did. He pointed his pistol at the two surprised enemy riflemen and pulled the trigger. And he pulled again. But it didn't matter. The two enemy riflemen were already running away. Fuller, more surprised than he'd ever been in his life, looked at his pistol.
Wow, no clip. Must have lost it when I hit the ground. And those commies ran away from an empty gun. Wowee.
Hey, how you figure that, Blue Leader?
I don't, Blue 3. Those two commies running away from the kid. I don't figure that at all.
Blue 4 to Blue Leader. The kid's heading back into the grass. He keeps going, he's going to meet a lot of commies.
Where?
About 50 yards to his right.
Oh, yeah. Deploying. Come on. Let's stop them cold. Blue Leader to Blue 3 and 4. There's another gang setting up to the east.
Yeah, and there's the reason. The chopper. They're trying to shoot it down.
The kid will be sunk if they do. Come on, Blue 3. We're going after those emplacements. You stick here, Blue 4, and cover the kid. Man directly below, Sergeant. Stand ready for rescue.
How are we going to do it, Lieutenant? We touch down, we're liable to get ourselves shot full of holes. The guy down there,
We're not
too.
touching down. We're dropping a sling.
Right.
Not going to have much time to scramble for it, so drop it right on him. Start pulling him in the minute he's in it.
That was the plan of rescue. And it would have worked. For the sling is a webbed cradle-type affair in which a man can sit. It's lowered from the helicopter by an electric winch on a cable which passes over a pulley welded to the upper door frame of the copter. It's a sure way of getting a man into a helicopter in cases of great emergency. And it would have worked this time, as it has many other times, if Fuller hadn't been in such a hurry to get off the ground. If he hadn't also been thinking about the safety of the helicopter.
10 feet, Lieutenant. He's got the sling. He's in it.
Okay, pull him in. We're going up.
Lieutenant, for Pete's sake.
Let him, Sergeant.
The man down there, he didn't get the sling around him, but he's slipping out. We're going to lose him.
Blue Leader, Blue Leader, Blue Leader. Do you see what I see?
I sure do. The kid's out of the sling. He's hanging on by his hand.
Well, sir, dangling at 500 feet. If that ground fire doesn't get him now, the ground will. How about letting a chopper pilot know?
He knows.
Maybe he doesn't. How about giving him a buzz?
He knows, I tell you. I saw the A-man reach out and grab the kid. I'm only hoping he can hold on to him.
I got your jacket, Lieutenant. Now, reach up and grab my arm.
Okay.
Hey, grab my arm! Quick, the jacket's tearing! Right! Good, Lieutenant. Now, grab hold of your arm. That ought to do for a while.
I hope.
You're going to do more than hope, Lieutenant. You're going to hold on.
How about pulling me into the chopper?
I'm trying, but you're a load. I don't know if I can make it.
Mischief Blue Leader to copter pilot. Mischief Blue Leader to copter pilot.
Come in, Blue Leader. Come in.
My boy's been hanging on for over 10 minutes. I don't think he's going to be able to take it much longer.
I realize that, Blue Leader. Got any suggestions?
How about touching down?
I can't. That ground fire will tear us apart.
How about trying that rice field over there? It looks clear from here.
What rice field? Where?
About 1,000 yards to your left.
Okay, Blue Leader. Didn't see it. We'll make a check.
And they did. The rice field was clear of enemy troops. Lieutenant Russell touched the helicopter down to the ground, and Fuller climbed aboard. The kid with 5 lives, Quintus J. Fuller, was on his way back to his base. A little worn, but none the worse for his experience. He'd seen living proof of what the United States Air Force will do to rescue one of its men. He'd seen teamwork alive with action. The men of the Mischief Blue flight that morning of December 22nd, 1952, Thompson, Fuller, Sims, and Hickey, to the men on the rescue helicopter, Russell and Blaney, and to all the men at that United States Thunderjet base in Korea, a salute from Proudly We Hail. Missions accomplished.
How's it going, Fuller?
Fine, just fine, Doc.
Are you ready to leave the hospital?
Am I ready? I was ready yesterday, 2 minutes after I got here.
All right. Colonel Hotchkiss will be waiting for you in operations.
Another mission?
Well, that seems to be the idea.
Oh, thanks. That's more like it. Now, how much time have I got?
Half an hour.
Oh, plenty. I'll dress and go get some breakfast. Hey, Doc. Did you hear about those 2 commies that came after me yesterday with rifles?
Yes, I heard about it, Fuller.
And me with an empty gun. Lost the clip.
They ran away, didn't they?
Yeah. That's the thing I still can't figure out. They were Chinese Reds. And those commies are supposed to be tough.
Well, maybe a lot of the Reds are not as red-hot as their commissars would like to think. Maybe they get too much propaganda and not enough chop suey. I'm a doctor. I know you've got to put the right stuff into a man's stomach if you want to keep him happy and on your side. You can't forget his stomach and put the wrong stuff in his head and expect to win. That's as old as history, Fuller. Anything else you'd like to know?
Yeah. What's for breakfast?
Our nation's future lies in the skies. Get in on this exciting future as an Air Force aviation cadet. Be a leader in this coming movement. If you can qualify, you'll be trained in the latest aviation techniques, learning with pay. It won't be easy, of course. It takes hard work, intelligence, and initiative. But if you make the grade, you'll receive the silver wings of an Air Force lieutenant within a year. Wings that are your keys to leadership in an air age. To qualify for this opportunity, you must be between the ages of 19 and 26 and a half, single, and have at least 2 years of college. If you can measure up, see your local Army and Air Force recruiting officer today. It's an air future. Win your place in it now as an aviation cadet. This has been another program on Proudly We Hail, presented transcribed in cooperation with this station. Proudly We Hail is produced by the Recruiting Publicity Center for the United States Army and United States Air Force Recruiting Service. This is Kenneth Banghart speaking, and inviting you to tune in the same station next week for another interesting story on Proudly We Hail.
Tonic and Kreml Shampoo present the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes, starring Nigel Bruce as Dr. Watson and Tom Conway as Sherlock Holmes. Well, once again, it's time to join our good friend and host, Dr. Watson, as he waits for us in his familiar study. Good evening, Dr. Watson.
Good evening, Mr. Bell.
Well, are you all set for tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure?
Yes, my boy, I'm all set, as you put it. I was looking over my notes on the case before you arrived, and I came across this. It played an extremely prominent part in tonight's story.
Well, what is it, Dr. Watson? It looks like a dried leaf of some kind.
In its younger days, Mr. Bell, it was a sprightly sprig of parsley.
Dr. Watson, I know you have the habit of collecting odd mementos from your cases, but a sprig of parsley.
And yet, my boy, this withered piece of greenery enabled Sherlock Holmes to solve one of the most diabolical murders that we ever encountered. The strange death of Mrs. Abernethy.
Well, this I've got to hear, but first of all...
Oh, I know, Mr. Bell, I know. You have a message for our listeners.
Every man who wants to get to the top should realize how much neatly groomed hair adds to a man's appearance. And I'm sure you'll be interested in hearing how so many of America's most prosperous and successful men keep their hair looking so attractive. They use Kreml hair tonic. And it's easy to see why. Because Kreml contains precious hair grooming ingredients found in no other hair tonic. This is why Kreml gives a man's hair such a natural, well-groomed look. It keeps it in place longer, too. Yet Kreml never leaves hair looking or feeling greasy or sticky. Never leaves it feeling stiff as a board. Just make this test, men. After you apply Kreml, run your hand back over your hair. Notice how delightfully clean your hair feels. Notice how no grease comes off on your hand. Your hair always looks like a million and feels like a million when you use Kreml. Kreml. Kreml Hair Tonic. Now, Dr. Watson, how about the mystery of the withered parsley and the strange death of Mrs. Abernethy?
Well, Mr. Bell, at the time I'm talking about, this parsley, just like myself, was a great deal younger.
Oh.
But to get on with my story, Holmes had just concluded his amazing investigation in the affair of the Reading bicycle pump murder, and we decided to stay for a few days in the nearby beautiful village of Pangbourne. The weather was surprisingly generous for an English summer, and on our second day, Holmes and I had gone for a stroll along the towpath of the River Thames. Holmes was in an extremely morose mood that day, I remember, as we walked back towards our hotel. The country's beautiful here, Holmes.
Yes, I suppose it is.
Oh, come. Look at the red and grey roofs of the cottages, and the farms peeping out through the trees over there. So peaceful and soothing.
I'm afraid it has the reverse effect on me, Watson. That's the curse of having a mind like mine.
Oh, how do you mean, Holmes?
I observe everything with reference to my own special subject. You look at those scattered houses and are impressed by their peace and beauty. I look at them and think how easily crime may be committed there.
Good Lord, who'd associate crime with a spot like that?
It's my opinion, Watson, based on experience, that the lowest and vilest alleys in London do not present a more dreadful record of sin than does the smiling countryside.
What a morbid thought.
The reason is obvious. The pressure of public opinion can do in the city what the law cannot accomplish. There's no lane so dark that the scream of a tortured child or the thud of a drunkard's blow does not obtain sympathy and help from some neighbor. But look at these lonely houses. Think of the deeds of hellish cruelty, the hidden wickedness, which may go on year in, year out in such places and no one the wiser.
Upon my soul, Holmes, you're in a particularly depressing mood. Hello. Look at this fellow running towards us. Must be crazy. Imagine galloping along a towpath on a hot day like this.
From his expression, I think we may reasonably assume that he's not doing it for the exercise.
Excuse me, but is one of you gentlemen Dr. Watson?
Yes, sir, I am. And this is Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, how do you do, sir? Mr. Holmes.
How do you do?
My name is Gareth Abernethy. I heard that you were staying in the village. I went to your hotel, and they told me that you'd gone for a walk in this direction.
I presume you need a doctor's help.
Yes, I do. Dr. Watson, I know you're on a holiday, but...
Oh, well, naturally, I'm at your service, sir. What is wrong?
Oh, perhaps we could start walking back to the inn. My horse and trap are there, and I'll tell you about it as we go. My mother's just had a bad heart attack. We live at Holmby Grange, a few miles out of the village. I'd like to drive you out there at once,
but
Doctor.
Surely if you live here, you must have a family doctor.
Well, he's in London for a few days.
I see. Tell me, Mr. Abernethy, what were the symptoms of your mother's heart attack?
Well, she said she was taking her usual nap before lunch. She started to go to sleep and suddenly woke up crying that she was going to die. Said her heart seemed to stop beating entirely for a few moments.
Well, has she had these attacks before?
Well, I can't tell you much about it. The family says that for her age, she's been in very good health. I've been abroad for a few years.
In China, I observe, Mr. Abernethy.
Yes. Yes, I went out there as a war correspondent covering the Boxer Rebellion. But how did you know?
The fish that you have tattooed immediately above your right wrist could only have been done in China. That trick of staining the fish's scale a delicate pink is quite peculiar to that country.
That's amazing, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, it's not so amazing as all that. It's just a certain facility for observation, sir. For instance, from what you told me of your mother's symptoms, I should say that her lips are bluish, that she runs out of breath when walking upstairs, and the veins in her cheeks are unusually pronounced.
I begin to think I've met a pair of magicians.
Oh, why?
But you're right, Doctor.
I see I put you on your mettle, Watson. How did you deduce that?
Elementary, my dear Holmes. The symptoms that Mr. Abernethy described were typical of mitral constriction. I shall be delighted to examine your mother and do whatever I can for her.
I'm very grateful, Doctor.
You're in good hands, Mr. Abernethy. Well, Watson, I shall see you later, no doubt. This is one case in which I'm sure you need no help from me.
Dr. Watson, I'm not much of a one for doctors. Stick out your tongue and give me a guinea. That's what most of them say. Well, what's your verdict?
Well, that there's nothing seriously wrong, Mrs. Abernethy. Just take these drops I'm giving you before each meal and you'll be well in no time.
Lizzie. Yes, ma'am? You heard what the doctor said. Now try and stop your wool gathering long enough to see that I get those drops.
Yes, ma'am. I won't forget.
You'd forget your own name if the butcher's boy was to ring the bell, though, wouldn't you?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, no.
You can leave the room, Lizzie.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you should rest for a while, Mrs. Abernethy.
Plenty of time for rest at my age, Doctor. Anyway, I want to talk to you privately. That's why I sent Lizzie out of the room. I want you to bring your friend Sherlock Holmes here to lunch tomorrow.
Sherlock Holmes? But how did you know that...
That he was in the village? There's nothing new in the village or anywhere else going on here that I don't know about, Doctor. Now, will you bring him? I've got something very important to discuss with him.
Really, ma'am, I don't think it's the state of your heart that you...
Oh, what was that filthy medicine you gave me?
Oh.
It's made me sleepy.
Well, that was its purpose, madam.
My family think I'm going to die. They're waiting for it. Hoping for it.
Oh, rubbish. You're not going to die, madam.
We'll fool them, Doctor, won't we? We'll fool them. Who is it?
Now, Mrs. Abernethy. I'll go to the door.
Oh, Doctor, I came to see how Granny was getting along. I'm Rose Abernethy.
I'm Dr. Watson. How do you do, my dear?
Who is it, Doctor?
It's me, Granny. I came to see how you are.
Take the doctor downstairs, Rose. Give him some tea and introduce him to the rest of the family. He's got bad news for them. I'm going to live.
Uncle Gareth, will you introduce Dr. Watson, please?
Of course, my dear Rose. And I appreciate your motive in giving me the privilege. A shy, retiring girl like yourself would hardly dare make such a descriptive introduction as I will.
Uncle Gareth, you've been drinking again.
Well, since I was the only member of this heartless Abernethy clan that had the initiative to go and get a doctor, I think I was entitled to a brandy or two. Come on, Watson. Come and meet my noble brothers. They're here in the library, waiting like hopeful vultures for bad news about our dear mother's health.
Oh, well, sir, I think perhaps some other time.
No. Might as well get it over with.
I'm sorry, Dr. Watson. I didn't know Uncle had been drinking.
Oh, that's quite all right, my dear child.
Dr. Watson, let me introduce my brother,
Ernest.
How do you do?
How are you, Dr. Watson? Since the success of Oscar Wilde's recent comedy of manners, Ernest has been unbearable. I think he took its title too literally.
I suppose you're referring to the importance of being earnest.
As you see, Doctor, my brother is a brilliant wit, and brandy sharpens his perceptions even more. He's been known to launch a whole string of leaden epigrams in the course of one evening.
Yes, and he's been known to do an honest day's work in his life, which is more than you can say, my dear Ernest.
Gareth, I'm sure Dr. Watson has no desire to listen to our dreary wranglings. Why not introduce him to John?
I'm going to. Watson, this is my other brother, John Abernethy.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do, Doctor? John is the respectable member of the family. He manages the estates here, and at least has the unique distinction of having worked for the money he gets from Mother.
Shouldn't talk like this in front of a stranger, Gareth. Bad form, you know.
Yes, Uncle Gareth. Dr. Watson's come here to tell us about Granny.
Oh, and then let's hear the verdict. It means much more to us than you could possibly imagine, I can assure you.
Well, I examined Mrs. Abernethy very thoroughly. Considering her age, I'm glad to say that her condition is quite good. I've prescribed Digitalis for her, and she should pull through very nicely. In fact, I see no reason why she shouldn't live to be 100.
Oh, Uncle Ernest, that was one of our nicest wine glasses.
Look at us, Watson. You give us the best possible news, and look at our faces. Don't you realize that this whole family is waiting for one thing? My mother's death?
I tell you, Holmes, it was perfectly nauseating.
I must say they sound like a peculiarly unattractive family.
Well, except the granddaughter Rose, she's a sweet little thing, but the others are a bunch of good-for-nothings.
Undoubtedly. And yet my reaction to what you've told me is one of intense curiosity. As I remarked earlier today, the quiet countryside, beneath its external beauty, cloaks some of the vilest happenings.
Well, I admit the atmosphere in that household is vile, all right.
And think of the potential tragedy smoldering there. A wealthy matriarch who controls the purse strings. 4 relations living there and praying for one thing, her death. No, Watson. With such a setting, my curiosity is overpowering.
Then you will call on her?
If you think she's in good enough condition to see me. Attempts may have already been made on her life.
Normally I'd suggest postponing it for a day or two, but if you think that she's in danger...
Quite. Watson, tomorrow we shall call upon the lady and see what can be done to help her.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes, Mrs. Abernethy?
Before we go into lunch, I should like to tell you why I asked you to come here today. And I want my family to know, too. Children, I want your attention.
Oh, Mother, not another lecture, surely.
No, Ernest, not a lecture. Merely a statement of fact. I have asked Mr. Sherlock Holmes here today because he is a detective.
A detective? What's the matter, Mother? Has someone pinched the family silver?
Gareth, be quiet.
Now, please don't excite yourself, madam. Remember that heart of yours.
Yes, Granny, do be careful.
Oh, stop fussing over me, Rose, and sit down. Gareth, you mentioned the family silver. How did you know that's what I was going to speak about?
Oh, Mother, I was only joking.
Were you? Strange joke. Mr. Holmes, I discovered a few days ago that the Abernethy silver has been stolen piece by piece and replaced by imitation.
How do you know, Mrs. Abernethy?
I recently had occasion to have some of our silver knives repaired. The blades were loose in the handles. The London jeweler to whom I sent them reported that they were not the family silver, but plated imitations. I had him come down here and examine the rest of the set. They're frauds. I want you to find out who's responsible. I know it's one of these 4 children.
That's ridiculous, Mother. Why suggest that one of us is responsible?
Because I know you children too well.
Personally, I think it's what you deserve, Mother.
Dare you?
I'm not dependent on you, Mother, but the others are. You've kept them dangling too long. Look at you, Rose. You're still young. Are you going to stay here another 20 years waiting for your grandmother to die?
Gareth, leave her room.
Now, please, Mrs. Abernethy.
Lunch is served, ma'am.
Oh, go away. Out of you.
Quick, Watson. She's having another attack.
Out of the room, everybody, please.
Oh, Dr. Harris.
No. Don't worry, Mrs. Abernethy. You're going to be quite all right.
Are you feeling better, Mrs. Abernethy?
Yes, Mr. Holmes, I am.
That Digitalis soon fooled you round, didn't it? You must remember not to take another dose until this evening. In the meanwhile, I think you'd better go and lie down.
No, Doctor. I want to go into lunch. And afterwards, I have something else to tell you, Mr. Holmes. Something I don't intend the family to hear. And it's much more significant than stealing silver.
Mrs. Abernethy, I think if you were to tell me your real problem now, simply and directly, a great deal of time and patience might be saved.
After lunch, Mr. Holmes. Doctor, give me your arm.
Excellent lunch, I must say.
And the conversation has had all the sparkle and gaiety of a funeral oration.
Well, since you've entirely monopolized the conversation, Gareth, that's not very surprising.
Stop wrangling, you two. Got guests. Bad form, you know.
Mr. Holmes, did you care for some hot coffee?
Thank you, Mrs. Abernethy. I'd like another cup.
Granny, what's wrong? Your hand is shaking so.
Doctor!
Quick, Dr. Watson.
Mrs. Abernethy!
Somebody was not.
Holmes! Be good, she's dead.
Then I must assume a different mission than the one I came here to perform. I suggest that you all leave this room, and that one of you sends a servant for the police. Murder has just been committed before our eyes.
Murder? But Holmes, she died of a heart attack.
When death is so intensely desired by 4 persons present? No, Watson. I'm afraid I can't assume a verdict of natural death. In proof, I suggest you notice the depth to which that parsley has sunk in the butter. I repeat, send for the police.
Oh, now.
Before we find out what the police discover, men, once you get bald, there's nothing you can do about it. But it's never too early to make the most of the hair you've got. That's why I urge you to try Kreml Hair Tonic. Kreml contains very special hair grooming ingredients which have never been duplicated in any other hair tonic. Kreml keeps the hair in place longer, always looking so neat and well-groomed, never greasy or sticky. But this highly specialized hair tonic does lots more than just keep the hair looking handsome. A quick massage with Kreml helps stimulate circulation right in the surface of the scalp, leaving your scalp feeling so alive, so invigorated. At the same time, Kreml removes loose dandruff and has a fine lubricating effect on a dry scalp. And if your hair is dry and breaks and falls, Kreml actually helps condition the hair in that it leaves it feeling so much softer, more pliable. Men, I'm sure you'll enjoy the way Kreml always feels so clean on your scalp, looks so clean on your hair, and has such a clean odor. How it helps give you such a handsome, clean-cut appearance. Buy a bottle at any drug counter. Kreml. Kreml Hair Tonic. Well, Dr. Watson, I begin to see what you mean about that withered sprig of parsley. But I still don't understand what it had to do with the death of the old lady.
Oh, more did I, Mr. Bell, at the time, but Sherlock Holmes soon explained it to me. As soon as the family had left the dining room and the police had been sent for, Holmes and I stood together in that room of death, examining the dining room table.
Yes, Watson. I'm certain that she was poisoned before our eyes.
But how, Holmes?
You'll admit that in her condition a double dose of digitalis would have been fatal?
Possibly, yes, but she didn't have an overdose. I gave her some before we came into lunch and told her not to take her usual dose at the table. And she didn't take it.
Not consciously, Watson, but I'm convinced that she received another dose in her food.
How? She didn't eat the roast lambs the rest of us had. She simply had 2 lightly boiled eggs. She cracked them open herself. They couldn't have been poisoned.
But she put butter in her eggs, large quantities of butter.
We all ate butter from the same dish, Holmes.
True. But once again, I ask you to observe the significant fact. The depth to which the parsley has sunk in the butter.
But the parsley hasn't sunk perceptibly at all.
That, my dear Watson, is the significant fact.
Oh, beg your pardon, sir. Lizzie said as though you thought something was wrong with the lunch. I'm the cook.
Something was very wrong with the lunch, my good woman.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I hear as how Mrs. Abernethy has been took with another of her spells.
Yes, she has. Tell me, was this table laid for lunch at 1 o'clock?
Yes, sir, it was. But you didn't come in till half an hour later.
While Mrs. Abernethy's attack delayed us in the drawing room, did anyone come through the kitchen into this room?
No, sir. Lizzie and me would have seen him if they had.
And when you set the table, you placed this butter here?
Yes, sir.
As you see, it's garnished with parsley. Did you do that?
No, sir, I didn't. That's funny. Who could have put that on there?
Joe Holmes. You're right. But the roast of lamb was garnished with parsley, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, it was.
Splendid. I'm much obliged to you.
I hope the mistress finds better soon, sir.
Watson, I'm going to take that butter to the village, chemist shop, and have it analyzed. While I'm doing that, I want you to conduct an experiment of your own.
What do you want me to do?
Obtain a fresh quantity of butter from the kitchen. Place a sprig of parsley on top of it and see how far in half an hour it sinks in.
Ridiculous way of spending my time, I must say.
Nevertheless, Watson, I think the experiment may give us the vital clue to the murder.
Well, Holmes, and what did you find out at the chemist?
It was as I suspected, Watson. The butter was thoroughly impregnated with digitalis.
And yet we all ate some of it.
True. It would not produce any effect on a normally healthy person. In the case of Mrs. Abernethy, however, 2 doses in quick succession were fatal.
Great Scott.
What was the result of your experiment, old chap?
Well, in half an hour on a blazing hot day like this, parsley sinks quite noticeably into the butter.
Therefore, it was placed there shortly before we came in late to lunch, not when the table was set.
But what was the motive?
The butter had been shaped by a mold. It was patterned on the top. The murderer used a hypodermic needle to inject the digitalis, and he had to hide the holes made by the needle. So he took the parsley from the roast and placed it on the butter.
Who had the opportunity?
That's what we have to find out. Have the police arrived?
Yes, there's a Sergeant Jenkins in charge. He's out there in the kitchen questioning the servants.
Then let's join forces. A murderer's in this house, Watson. Between us, we've got to catch him.
Mr. Holmes, I've questioned everybody. The cook, Martha, says nobody came in through the kitchen when lunch was waiting on the table.
And yet we know somebody did, Sergeant.
Well, perhaps they came through the window.
I checked that too, sir. The gardener was working in the rhododendron bed outside. He said no one went in that way.
And the only other entrance to the dining room was the door leading into the library.
Oh, I checked on that one too, Mr. Holmes. Mr. John Abernethy and his brother Ernest were playing a game of chess there. They swore that no one went through that door.
Well, it looks as if no one could have tampered with the butter.
Whereas we know they did. Sergeant Jenkins, you've been very thorough in your examinations. But one of these witnesses is lying. We must talk to them again. Martha, when you said no one came through your kitchen and went into the dining room, you meant no member of the family, didn't you?
That's right, sir.
If it had been one of the other domestics, Lizzie, for example, you wouldn't have noticed it?
No, you mentioned it, sir. Lizzie did go in just before they came into lunch.
Lizzie did, but...
Quite, Watson. Sergeant, please ask Mr. Ernest Abernethy to step in here for a moment.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, Lizzie did go through the library door, but I can't see that fact as of much importance.
Possibly you can't. And yet I assure you my question was not an idle one. Was Lizzie carrying anything, do you recall?
I really didn't notice. I'm afraid I find the problems of chess, even with Brother John as an opponent, more interesting than the perambulations of the worthy Lizzie.
Lizzie.
Yes, sir?
You did go into the room just before lunch?
Yes, sir. I remember that I forgot to put the claret out. That would be room temperature. Mr. Ernest is most particular about that.
Thank you, Lizzie. You may go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Holmes, do you think she did it?
Surely there's no doubt of it in your mind now, is there?
Well, there is in mine, Mr. Holmes, and no mistake.
And yet the case is solved, Sergeant. Let's go into the drawing room and I'll introduce you to our murderer. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you can all see now how the murder was committed.
But by Lizzie? But that doesn't seem possible, Mr. Holmes. What motive would she have?
Oh, I could understand her motive. Mother's been an absolute tyrant with her.
I find it hard to believe that with her addle-pated mentality, she'd have the imagination to think of such a plot.
Oh, no, Gareth. The man responsible for this murder is you.
Uncle Gareth!
This is ridiculous.
I did not say the murderer. I said the man responsible.
But Holmes, what on earth are you driving at?
Gareth, by his example in finding a job and going abroad, caused one of his other relatives to become disgusted with the life of a parasite. That person decided to go beyond such petty devices as stealing silver and to turn to murder.
And Abernethy commit murder? I say, really.
A remarkably brilliant observation.
Which one is it, Holmes?
Surely that's obvious. two witnesses, the cook and Ernest, at first swore no one had entered the dining room. Then, when I asked a question based on one of the elementary flaws of direct evidence, each admitted that Lizzie had entered.
Lizzie herself admitted it, Mr. Holmes.
Very true. She told us in detail how she had entered the dining room once, but the witnesses had her entering twice. The cook saw her come through the kitchen door, and you, Ernest, admitted that she had passed you through the library door. Someone else had realized that same flaw of evidence, that no employer really notices the actions of a servant. Someone else had entered that room in the maid's uniform. And who is the only suspect who could have done that?
By Jove, Rose Abernethy.
The shy and retiring Rose?
Yes, I killed Granny. When Dr. Watson said that Grandmother might live another 20 years, I thought that I'd never get away from here.
Well, you're getting away from here now, miss. I'm taking you over to the station.
I don't care. I'd be an old maid.
And I warn you that anything you say may be used in evidence against you.
I killed...
What a shocking case. I'm glad we're headed back to our hotel and never have to see that Abernethy family again.
We'll have to make a brief appearance at the trial of the girl, I'm afraid.
I still find it hard to believe that quiet, shy little thing was capable of conceiving such a devilish murder.
Solitude, unhappiness, and the companionship of an evil, maladjusted family and a tyrannical grandmother breed dark fancies, Watson.
She dressed up in a maid's uniform, convinced that no one would give her a second glance, and then, having poisoned the butter, returned, changed her dress, and sat down at the luncheon table.
Precisely. Well, Watson, this has been an unsavory case, but it points a moral. A moral that I hope you, as my self-appointed biographer, will profit by.
And what moral is that?
The extreme importance of observing details. Miss Abernethy would not now be on her way to a prison cell if I hadn't noticed one vital clue. The depth to which the parsley had sunk in the butter.
Just a moment, Dr. Watson will be back to tell us something about next week's story. Girls, have you noticed how men can't help but admire the bright, shimmering highlights in a woman's hair? Then why not follow the advice of the famous $1 Million Powers models? Girls noted for their glossy, bright hair.
Powers models wash their hair with Kreml shampoo. This amazingly beautifying Kreml shampoo actually glamour bathes each tiny strand of hair and uncovers all its natural, radiant luster.
Yes, and Kreml shampoo never dries the hair. In fact, it has a beneficial oil base which helps keep the hair from becoming dry or brittle.
Its luxurious active foam penetrates right to the scalp and removes all loose dandruff as well as the dirt.
So, ladies, buy a bottle of Kreml shampoo at any drug counter. See how easy it is to glamour bathe your hair to a vision of tantalizing loveliness. Kreml, Kreml shampoo. Now, Dr. Watson, what about next week?
Well, next week I think I'll tell you about the singular affair of the Coptic compass.
The Coptic compass? Sounds intriguing, Dr. Watson.
Sherlock Holmes found it so, Mr. Bell. The adventure started one afternoon when Holmes and I, returning to our Baker Street rooms, found, lying in the middle of our floor, an unclothed corpse.
Tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure was suggested by an incident in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Sixth Napoleon. Nigel Bruce appeared by permission of California Pictures, Tom Conway through the courtesy of Eagle Lion Pictures. This is Joseph Bell speaking for Kreml Hair Tonic and Kreml Shampoo, and inviting you to be with us next week at this same time, when Dr. Watson will tell us about the singular affair of the Coptic compass. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Crime does not pay. Got the dough, Eddie? Check. Not bad. All right, Moxie, let him have it. Don't hit me. Moxie, hit him with a gun butt. What do you think, kid? We'd ask him polite like to sit down and be quiet till we got away. But maybe he's dead. That's okay, fellas? Yeah, okay. All right, take drive. But if he's dead, you'll burn for him. If he's dead,
Shut up. Hey, here's 50 for your share.
That's easier, ain't it? And a lot better than fixing other people's jalopies. In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you will hear Father's Boy, starring Richard Hart. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Richard Hart as Dan Tink Gilbert Williams in Father's Boy. The neighborhood was on the verge of becoming a slum. No one wanted to live there. But where else can you go when you're scraping a bare living from a poorly paid job, and every penny goes to protect a hard-won respectability? This is the condition which faced Dan and Muriel Williams as Dan Jr. grew up into that half-sad, half-joyous period called adolescence. More, all this removed the element of surprise from Muriel's voice and Dan's reaction. The evening Dan came home from the machine shop where he worked to be greeted by Muriel saying,
"The cops, Dan. They brought Danny home this afternoon."
I see. Surprise?
Not very.
You say that as if it were my fault.
Isn't it? For 16 years I watch him every moment I can spare from fighting the dirt and the budget we have to live on. Where's his father been? Has he ever really had a father?
I've done my job. I've kept a roof over our heads. I've gone absolutely straight. That's been my part of the job.
And your son hasn't been. Oh, it's no use, and it's too late. Too little and too late.
Is it that bad?
What does it matter how bad it is? Cops brought Danny home, understand? Cops picked up Danny. Like father,
What'd
like...
they pick him up for?
Parcel service truck unlocked. He grabbed some packages. He and his gang. You hear that? His gang.
Where is he now?
Here in his room.
Then they let him go.
It's juvenile court. He isn't 17 yet. A week from tomorrow.
I see. Company's pressing charges.
It's not the first time the trucks have been hit in this neighborhood.
All right.
What's all right? You'll send Danny to reform school. You know what he'll learn there. I begged you to get us out of this neighborhood. I begged you, Dan, but you couldn't or wouldn't.
Too late for that now. Danny, come in here.
Hi.
Danny, I said come in here.
Dan, what are you going to do?
Be a father. Danny.
Don't hit him. It won't do any good.
Not with my hand, I won't hit him.
Okay, so they caught me. Next time I'll be smart.
Oh, Danny.
Sit down, son.
What for? I can hear you standing.
I said sit down.
Okay. Okay, I'm sitting.
Okay, button your lip, pigeon, and use your ears.
Dan, don't talk like that. It makes me remember.
Maybe Muriel, once this young punk gets a load of the real thing, he won't be so full of juice.
Get to it, Pop. I ain't got all night.
Button it. You've got as much time as I say you have, understand?
Okay. So what?
So you'll get a load of what I'm spilling in language you think is pretty smart. And maybe you'll have something to chew on. You know, kid, the kind of snatch you tried to pull this afternoon is old as Methuselah.
Give me time. I'll figure a couple of angles.
I know about those angles, all about them. They've got a funny way of turning into the angles bars make with a windowsill. There was a kid once, not much older than you. He thought he had angles, all of them. He was smart. Ask him, he'd tell you, see. This kid liked cars, see? From the inside out, he liked them. He was a whiz with tools. Could take a car engine down, put it together with 3 parts left over and make it run better than they could at the factory. He was a good driver, too. But most of all, he liked to tinker with machinery. His crowd called him Tinker, or Tink for short. He had a job in a service station. Worked on cars and loved it. A good kid. Smart. Played the angles. Never made much dough, but he could hope. And one day, he was alone in the shop. His hopes come true. Or he thought they had. Hey. Who are you? What's the idea of sneaking up behind the guy?
Save the chatter. I got a business proposition. You're Tink Gilbert.
Yeah. Who told you?
Little birdie. Sits on telephone lines and listens all day long. Trouble with the fool bird, can't keep its fool mouth shut. Can you?
Depends.
On what?
The kind of mucilage. Also, how much...
The color of mine is green. Also, it folds.
How do I know you didn't draw the pictures yourself?
You don't take any chances at all, do you, kid? Yeah, you're smart. You ought to go places.
I figure the angle.
Okay. Figure. Out loud.
I figure... Guy walks in and calls me by name. I've never seen him before. I see a guy dressed real sharp who slings a line of stuff that folds and has a green color. Okay. Maybe it's rabbit food and maybe it's real lettuce. So first I gotta know, what's his name?
The name is Carter. Gypsy Carter, on account of I got a good sunburn all the time.
Gyp Carter. Yeah, I heard the name.
Satisfied?
Well, what do you want from me? All I know is cars.
Well, I got a car. Don't run fast enough.
A soup job?
A trial for you. For half a C.
Half a C? Well, I get here for a week. Okay, I'll play the percentage. Bring your car in tomorrow night. Oh, for crying out loud. Yeah?
Hey, that's you?
Who else? Oh, that's you. Hi.
How you like the new chariot?
Oh, you sure can pick cars, Jim. You don't need this one souped up.
You can say that again.
Hey, what does this chariot do, about 90?
Better than that. Like to try it?
You're not kidding. Only, I got a date tonight.
Dames is always around.
No. This one's my steady.
Well, how about another half a C?
But just for driving?
Sure. A couple of my pals and I were going for a little ride. Figured it might be a good gag for me to let them think I got a chauffeur with the new chariot, you know. Is it a deal?
Oh, just let me get out of my overalls and wash my hands. I wouldn't want to touch that wheel with grease on my fingers.
So you got a chauffeur. Who you kidding, Jip? That kid ain't no chauffeur.
Beg your pardon, Mr. Carter. You promised me an early night tonight, sir.
Yeah, so I did, Tink. So I did.
Get him, Ed. So I did.
I got him, Moxie. I got him long ago. All right, fellas. The gag's buried. There's the service station.
Check. And double check.
All right, Tink. No more fooling. Now, you and I stay in the car. Ed and Moxie will do the job. Then we all beat it. Now, pull up to the fire pump and leave the engine running. Stay in gear and keep the clutch out.
Chip, Mr. Carter, I don't get it.
Stop the car. You'll get it all right.
Yes, okay.
You can help, all right. This is a stick-up. Make like you're busy on the car. Ed, empty the tin inside. Check.
You can't. I'm scared of you guys. Shut up and behave. I don't carry no 45 because I want to fool a guy who's getting my weight. Let me go.
Got the door?
Check.
Not bad. All right, Moxie, let him have it.
No, do it, Andy.
Moxie hit him with a gun butt.
What do you think, kid? We'd ask him polite like to sit down and be quiet till we got away.
Maybe he's dead.
Nuts. Okay, fellas?
Okay, Chip.
All right, Tink, drive.
But if he's dead, you'll burn for it. If he's dead...
Shut up. Here's 50 for your share. That's easier, ain't it? And a lot better than fixing other people's jalopies.
wanted to come out for a walk, Tim. Why?
I want to talk to you, Muriel.
You've done something. You've done something wrong.
I didn't do nothing.
Our date last night, the one you postponed from Wednesday. You spent more than $50. I should have thought. Where did you get the money, Tink?
I earned it. And if that's the way you're going to talk, I ain't going to say nothing.
Oh, Tink, darling, you can't fool me 1 minute. Not 1 minute. You've done something in this case.
All I did was drive. The other fellas hit it.
Hit who?
You saw it in the papers. The gas station, the attendant in the hospital.
The one with the fractured skull. Oh, Tink, not you.
I didn't hit him, I tell you. All I did was drive. And I didn't even know what was going on till it happened.
That's no excuse, Tink. If he died,
He won't die. And get this. I'm going to throw in with Jip Carter.
Oh, no, Tink. No.
Now, look, you had your fun last night, didn't you? Okay. That was Jip's dough. And I made it in 1/10 the time I could have made it legit. So I'm telling you. I'm going in with Jip, understand?
Then you can forget about us.
What? Are you nuts? We'll never get no place legit. I can build up to $500,000 a week with Jip.
I don't care about the money. I don't care. I want you honest.
You'll get me like I'm going to be. With money in my pocket and a pocket in a good suit.
Good night, Tink. Goodbye.
Muriel! Hey, what do you think you're doing? Oh, nuts. All dames are screwy. I'll show her. I didn't do nothing but drive. And I'll show her when I get my hands on some real dough. When I get my hands on some dough.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with Father's Boy. Now we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Richard Hart as Dan Tink Gilbert Williams in Father's Boy. In the quiet, dingy parlor of the flat where they lived, Dan Williams unfolded the story of Tink Gilbert for Danny Jr. The boy listened, his eyes sullen. His mother sat there, the memories flooding back upon her, as her husband's voice cut the quiet of the room, reenacting, reliving the moments of the story.
Yes, Danny. Tink made up his mind to show Muriel. And Tink was never one to let the grass grow under his feet. Oh, no, not Tink. A few minutes after Muriel ran away from him, Tink was on his way to pay a call. Okay, kids, come in. I'm coming. Hiya, Jip.
Good enough. What's on your mind? Shut the door, Moxie, and stay on this side of it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, what's on your mind, I said?
I want to work for you, Chip. Regular.
Oh? Getting wise, kid?
I'm wise enough to know you can't make no real dough changing oil and grease and bearings.
What do you want to do for me?
Drive for you.
Well. My idea exactly. Well.
How about it?
What makes you think I need a driver? I got Moxie and Ed.
Most jobs it takes two guys. One man should stay at the wheel. You don't want to get out of the car like the other night, and you don't want to drive the job yourself.
You sure do figure all the angles.
I got eyes.
Oh, I see. How much do you want?
150 per.
You can have 100. Any job we get over $1,000, you get 5% as a bonus.
Okay, it's a deal. Only, let's have a couple of big ones fast. I gotta show somebody. I'm smart. Say, Jip.
Yeah?
Suppose the truck driver don't stop.
He'll stop.
But if he don't, with us parked across the road like this, he could wreck the car and us.
Look, kid, if you're going to be nervous, you can't work for me.
Oh, just asking a question.
Okay. Ed and Moxie, they'll have him stopping out of the cab long before he reaches us, see?
I hope so. Hey, how are they going to do it?
Watch. That's our baby coming around the bend now.
But he can't see us.
Shut up, will you, and watch.
Hey, look, they're waving flashlights.
Big figure, everything. They got him.
Okay, get down out of that cab into the sticker. Hello, everyone. Get down.
Hey, somebody in the back of the truck shooting.
Must have been tipped. Somebody tipped them off who were set to hijack that load.
Chip, they got Ed.
The truck's loaded with triggers. Get anybody, Moxie?
Yeah, the driver. I saw him bleed from the mouth. We got the driver before they knocked Ed over.
Think I said drive.
I can't. Let me in.
Will you?
I can't. You always should leave you. I can't leave that. Okay, I'll drive.
Stay on the right side of the road, you hear?
Yeah, I'm staying.
Where to, kid? The regular hideout. That'll take me to mine.
Yeah. What about him, the kid?
He won't talk.
He better not. You hear that, Tink? You better not talk.
I won't. What do you want me to do?
After you drop us, you ditch the car. You ditch it good. Then go to 19 Jackson Street. Tell the landlady I sent you. She'll give you a room. And stay there. Don't even go out for a paper. Stay there till I let you know that the heat's off. There's 2 bodies back there. The cops ain't going to let this one get filed.
Yes?
That you, Tink?
Yeah.
I got to see you. Let me in.
Oh, okay, just a minute.
Okay, Gilbert, keep your hands in sight.
Who are you? I thought you were Chip. You sounded like him.
The name is Johnson. You want to see my badge?
Cops.
That's right.
You got nothing on me.
We got enough to throw the book at you. Well, get your hat. We're leaving.
Leaving? For where?
Headquarters, Gilbert. We got some questions we think you know the answers to.
I don't know nothing. I didn't do nothing.
Stop it, Gilbert. You're in that hijack killing up to your neck. Now get going. Or do I have to call the boys from the squad car? All right, on your feet, Gilbert.
Okay.
Gilbert, this is the assistant DA, Mr. Masters.
All right, Gilbert, you can sit down.
Okay, thanks.
Now get this straight from the start, Gilbert. Mr. Masters wants to talk to you. You've got no previous record, which may help you if you help us. Now bear that in mind. Mr. Masters.
Tink, you're in a jam. Bad jam. I wonder if you realize how bad. We've known about Moxie's favorite hideout for a long time. And he talked. Moxie says you fired the shot that killed the driver of the truck while he was running away from the shooting.
That's a lie. I never touched a gun in my life.
It makes no difference, Tink. You'll fry anyway.
I'll fry?
I told you it was a bad jam. The worst. You were involved in an attempt at armed robbery that wound up in a killing. It doesn't matter that you never touched a gun. It's first-degree murder anyway. You understand, Tink? First-degree murder. The chair.
I guess I didn't figure that.
You can't figure all the angles, Gilbert. Not on your side of the fence.
But you can, if you want to, come over on our side.
You want me to squeal like Moxie?
We want you to tell the truth. You understand? Just tell the truth, and you won't cry. The chair isn't a very comfortable place, Tink. The death house is even worse.
I can't sing.
You've got to, or you're through. You're not a tough criminal, Tink. Not yet, anyway. But if you play this the wrong way, you'll never be anything. You won't even be alive.
Oh. All right. I'll do like you say. I got it, I guess.
That's the boy.
All right, get the steno in here, Johnson. No, wait a minute. Before we do that, let the girl in for a few minutes.
We still got a few hours to hold it.
Yeah, I know. But let the girl in. The one whose name is Muriel. She's been outside since the papers came out this morning. We'll give her a break on this deal, too. So, Danny,
Tink got a lot better deal than could have been expected. He didn't get off scot-free, of course, but after a while, not very long, they put him on probation. That's when Muriel married him. He took a job. He's held that job. But he'll never be more than a mechanic. He ruined himself, ruined his chances, all of them.
Okay. So what?
Oh, Danny, don't you see?
What's to see, Mom? What's this got to do with me? I didn't drive any car. I just snatched a couple of packages.
That's how Tink started. Only with him, it was stuff from the counters of a 5 and 10.
Yeah, but I still don't see what...
All right. All I can say is... Well, maybe you weren't really listening to me. You'll probably find out what all this has to do with you in court a week from tomorrow.
So this is the Williams family.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sit down, Mrs. Williams.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Williams. Danny, you stand there in front of my desk. Yes, sir. Now then, I asked you all into my chambers because I feel that there are times when the publicity of open court can do more harm than good. Now, Mr. Williams, I have your probation report right here on my desk.
I expected you would have, sir.
It's been excellent. Apparently, when you changed your name, you changed your ways as well.
I hoped Tink Gilbert was buried forever. Do you understand now, Danny?
Well, Danny? Well?
Answer the judge, Danny.
Okay, I understand. So, Dad was Tink Gilbert. So he's got a good record. Now, how does that help me?
Well, that's up to his honor, son.
I really hope that... Well, no, what I hope doesn't really matter.
Well, I think it does, Mrs. Williams. After all, Danny is half you. And by that, I don't mean that the other half is bad. You see, here in juvenile court, we handle matters somewhat differently. Do I have to go away, Your Honor? Not for the present. I'm going to put you on probation, son. To your father. He learned a lesson some years back. That ought to do you a lot of good.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor.
Please, Mrs. Williams, I'm handling this case as seems best. That's my job. I want no thanks for doing the job. But, Danny, I want you to remember this. The shortcuts are no good. They're no good at all. All of you who try them wind up standing where you are now, in front of the judge.
Crime does not pay. Richard Hart, who was starred as Dan Tink Gilbert Williams in Father's Boy, will be back with you in just a moment. Now, here in person is Richard Hart.
Perhaps the most significant thing in this story is the fact stated way back at the beginning that Dan Williams spent so much of his energies in the struggle for sheer existence that he failed to find time to be a real father to his son. This condition grew out of the harsh, bitter living conditions of slums and near slums, which are the greatest breeding grounds of criminals in our history.
Those who have to live in such places can't find their way out without our help. Our help through the interest we take in making our cities and towns better, cleaner places to live in. True, this costs money, but in the end it will cost far less than is spent every year to fight the crime of which these conditions are the cause. For all of us, not only for the criminal, it holds true that crime does not pay.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Mark B. Lowe, with music composed and conducted by John Garth. Technical advisor is Burton B. Turkis. This is Bob Williams speaking. The events, characters, and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental.